Chapter 2744. If any of you wish to participate, feel free to register. The registration period is 2 hours, and there's no limit to the number of participants. However, the registration will end after 2 hours. The Night Devil King said, indicating that the registration could begin now. There was no limit to the number of participants. Many demons looked at each other. Although there was no limit to the number of participants, they all knew their limit. Without sufficient strength, they would only be cannon fodder. Entering would only mean death. Although they coveted power and fame, they weren't idiot. They wouldn't foolishly do something that would only lead to death. For a moment, many demons fell silent. They didn't intend to be the first to stand out. Haha, I've long heard of the Forbidden Abyss. How can I miss out on this competition? At this moment, a primordial realm demon stood out. It was the Deputy Hall Master of the Demon Palace. It was a multi-eyed spider demon that emitted a chilling dark aura. Vaguely, thousands of eyes appeared on its body. Each eye seemed to contain a strange power. Ordinary demons wouldn't dare to look at it, or they would definitely be cursed. I'll participate too. There's something I need in the Forbidden Abyss. If we can gain the Demonlord's recognition, it'll be of great benefit to us as well. Hall Master, I'll also participate. Count me in. At this moment, all the primordial realm demons signed up. However, Monica was the only one who didn't move. She didn't seem to have much interest in the competition. Other than that, some of the peak primordial realm demons who thought they were strong and had great survival skills also signed up. They didn't want to fight for a ranking. They just wanted to see the Forbidden Abyss. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the time had passed. Soon, the 2 hours were up. Apart from these high-level demons, the low-level demons didn't sign up. After all, they knew their limit. Looks like there are no more demons signing up. The Night Devil King swept a glance at the surrounding demons and said indifferently, "Wait, Lord Night Devil King." At this moment, the Deputy Hall Master, Nine-Armed Lion Demon Gentutin, stood out and said to the Night Devil King, Gentutin, what do you want?" The Night Devil King indifferently looked at the Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin. "It's like this. I want to recommend a young genius from the monstrous Demon Palace to participate in the competition of the Abyss Forbidden Area. If he doesn't participate, I'm afraid that our monstrous Demon Palace will lose a lot of luster." The Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin smiled faintly. He wanted to recommend a young devil to participate. Oh, a fiendish demon that even you, the Nine-Armed Lion Demon Gentutin, admire? Just which fiendish demon is so capable? Hearing this, the Night Devil King couldn't help but become interested. Perhaps Lord Night Devil King knows this demon. He is Miss Monica's partner, Flower Devil Austin. The Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin faintly smiled, his eyes revealing a deep cold glint. What? The moment he said this, all the fiendish demons present were shocked. They didn't expect the Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin to mention this despicable pretty boy at this time. Furthermore, the Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin actually wanted to recommend this pretty boy to participate in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament. This was simply unbelievable. Monica's beautiful eyes also revealed a glimmer of light as she stared at the Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin. She could feel the other party's malicious intent. After all, Flower Devil Austin was only an immortal fiendish demon and belonged to the category of low-level fiendish demons. If he participated in this Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament, wouldn't he be courting death? Even if one used their knees to think, one could imagine this Nine-Armed Lion Devil Gentutin's malicious intent. She wanted to say something, but the Night Devil King waved his hand and said, "Interesting. I've also heard of this brat. To be able to obtain my daughter Monica's favor, I wonder what kind of young fiendish demon he is. This king originally returned to the Rock Demon City to kill him, but if he has the strength and courage to participate in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament, then it's not impossible for him to be together with my daughter." The moment he said this, It was earth-shattering, causing many fiendish demons to be shocked. From what the Night Devil King said, if this brat participated in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament, he might recognize this brat's status. Although this brat might not be able to return alive from the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament, just the fact that he was recognized by the Night Devil King was enough to incite the jealousy of countless fiendish demons. After all, this was a great opportunity to reach the heavens in a single step. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, Xia Ping became the center of attention on the square. Countless fiendish demons shot envious and jealous gazes at him. Each of them wished they could tear him into pieces. These two old fellows. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. How cunning was he? How could he not understand the intentions of the Night Devil King and the nine-armed lion devil Gentutin? They were clearly using both carrot and stick to force him to participate in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament. There was no need to talk about the nine-armed lion devil Gentutin. This old thing might have suspected him of being related to his son's death, so he suspected him and wanted to take the opportunity to kill him during the tournament. As for why the Night Devil King wanted to kill him, it might have a lot to do with Monica. But no matter what the reason was, there was no doubt that these two old things wanted to force him to participate in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament. But in reality, he had wanted to participate in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament. After all, if he wanted to enter the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament, he wouldn't be able to do so without sufficient authority. He didn't know how long it would take, so he wouldn't miss this rare opportunity. Thinking to this point, Xia Ping stood up and said, "Lord Night Devil King, Lord Gentutin, in reality, I've wanted to participate in the Abyssal Forbidden Ground tournament for a long time. I didn't expect to be recommended by the two of you. I'm truly honored." Hearing this, the pupils of the Night Devil King and the nine-armed lion devil Gentutin shrank. They didn't expect this brat to agree so easily. According to their expectations, this brat should have refused in every possible way. Then, they could use the crime of disrespect to punish this brat harshly and banish him to another place. Out of sight, out of mind. However, this young man had unexpectedly agreed, and they were at a loss for what to do. But they were still cunning fiendish demons. Although they were dazed for a moment, they quickly reacted and recovered their previous shrewdness. "I didn't expect your courage to be so commendable. My daughter didn't misjudge you." The Night Devil King could only say this. Chapter 2745. This has nothing to do with courage. Xia Ping said casually. "Oh? What do you mean?" The Night Devil King asked curiously. "Because the competition will be held in the Abyss Forbidden area. That place is extremely dangerous. If you're unlucky, even the Night Devil King will die, let alone the other demons. I, Austin, am not talented. I can't do anything else, but my luck is very good. Perhaps this competition in the Forbidden Abyss is tailor-made for me." Xia Ping said with a smile. "What?" Hearing this, the Night Devil King's face darkened a little, and the corner of his mouth twitched a little. This bastard really couldn't spit out anything good. What did he mean by even he would die if he entered the forbidden area of the abyss? These were the words of a demon. Wasn't this blatantly cursing him? This was simply audacious to the extreme. However, he couldn't refute anything because the Abyss Forbidden area was indeed a dangerous place. Even the Abyss King would be wary of it and not dare to approach it. However, this guy was really thick-skinned. He even dared to say that this competition was tailor-made for him. How thick-skinned did he have to be to dare say such a thing? Could it be that this was how his daughter was pursued? Thinking of this, he felt that he shouldn't let this bastard stay with his daughter. Otherwise, his daughter would be miserably tricked by this kid. "Austin, I didn't expect you to be so courageous. Looks like this palace lord will have to get closer to you after entering the Abyss Forbidden area so that we can take care of each other." The nine-armed lion devil Gentutin narrowed his eyes, and an unknown killing intent flickered in his eyes. However, he didn't show it. If they really entered the Abyss Forbidden Area, killing each other wouldn't be a crime. He could easily kill this kid and figure out what happened to his son. No need. I hate being with men. If you go for an operation, I might be able to accept it, Xia Ping said disdainfully. What? Hearing this, the nine-armed lion devil Gentutin immediately went crazy, and his face turned red. He was the deputy palace lord of the Demon Palace, a primordial demon. How dare this bastard talk to him like this and ask him for an operation? If the Night Devil King wasn't here, he would definitely hammer this bastard to death. Hee, since that's the case, I wish you good luck. The nine-armed lion devil Gentutin took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He didn't want to be too impulsive and beat this kid to death. He would endure it for now. After entering the Abyss Forbidden Area, he would let this kid know why flowers were red. Cough, cough. All right, since there are no more demons signing up, the meeting will be adjourned. The Night Devil King coughed. He felt that if this brat continued talking, the nine-armed lion devil Gentutin would probably go berserk. Even he could not control the urge to beat this brat up. On the second day, the news that Xia Ping had registered for the competition in the Forbidden Abyss lands spread throughout the fiendish demon palace in the blink of an eye. All the fiendish demons knew about it, and they were all discussing it. No way, this kid actually dared to sign up for the Abyssal Forbidden Area competition? What a joke. I heard he completed a mission and killed a near-ancient realm sand demon. Maybe he thinks he has some ability and wants to try his luck. Luck my ass. This is the competition of the Forbidden Abyss, not something else. The Forbidden Abyss is full of dangers. Even the Abyssal Kings have to be careful. This pretty boy wants to go in and try his luck? I'm afraid he's crazy. I heard that this kid had no choice but to participate in the Abyss Forbidden Zone competition. Lord Night Devil King said that only if he can come out alive from the Abyss Forbidden Zone competition can he be with Lord Monica. Haha, stupid pretty boy. He must be dumbfounded now. He thought he could live off a woman for the rest of his life. Who would have thought he would be forced by the Night Devil King like this? Looks like he's dead meat. Not necessarily. It's said that Lady Monica is very anxious this time. She's practically burning with impatience. She found a bunch of life-saving treasures and gave them to that pretty boy so that he can come out of the Forbidden Abyss alive. Damn it. Why is this gigolo's luck so good? He actually managed to latch onto Lady Monica's thigh. If Lady Monica really goes all out to help him, coupled with the many treasures she possesses, he might really be able to leave this place alive. The demons in the abyss discussed. They didn't expect Flower Devil Austin to really dare to participate in the competition in the Abyss Forbidden Area. This was beyond their expectations. Some demons were gloating. They thought this kid was dead meat. He couldn't come back alive. Some demons thought he might really have a chance to come back alive with Lady Monica's help. At that time, he might reach the sky in one step. No matter which fiendish demon it was, they all felt that Austin was simply lucky to be able to be a gigolo to such an extent. All of them were extremely jealous. At this moment in Xia Ping's residence, Monica also arrived at the mansion's hall. She said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Master Austin. I didn't expect Father to force you to do such a thing. If you don't want to, we can immediately run away and not participate in this Abyssal Forbidden Area tournament. We can run to a place where Father can't find us." She wanted to elope with Xia Ping. No need. It's just a competition in the Abyss Forbidden Area. It's nothing. What? Do you think I will die in this so-called Abyssal Forbidden Area competition? Xia Ping glanced at her. He finally found this chance to enter the Abyss Forbidden Area. How could he leave like this? Wasn't that stupid? No. I don't think so. I'm just a little worried. But it's great that Lord Austin is confident. Monica said immediately. That's great. Women shouldn't care about men's matters. Just stand at the side obediently. Understand? Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back. And then, I understand. Monica looked at Xia Ping with admiration. But if Sir Austin can get a good ranking in this Abyssal Forbidden Area tournament, then even Father won't be able to stop us. What stop? I will replace him sooner or later. So what if he's the Night Devil King? Xia Ping said calmly. He said it in a matter-of-fact tone. This was a very normal thing for him. Hearing this, Monica's heart thumped wildly, and her face turned red. Sure enough, Lord Austin's current appearance was too enchanting. He was practically a demon among demons. Chapter 2746. Several days later. In the Devil Demon Palace of the Rock Demon City, many fiendish demons who signed up for the Forbidden Abyss competition and those who planned to go to the Forbidden Abyss to watch the fun took the teleportation formation of the Devil Demon Palace to the Forbidden Abyss. In fact, every branch of the Devil Demon Palace had set up teleportation formations scattered in every corner of the Abyss continent. This also allowed fiendish demons from all over to gather quickly. It just so happened that there was also a super teleportation formation near the Forbidden Abyss for the convenience of many fiendish demons. Boom! In an instant, Xia Ping and the others took the teleportation formation of the Rock Demon City and arrived at a base near the Forbidden Abyss in just an instant. Is this the base near the Forbidden Abyss? Many fiendish demons from the Rock Demon City were very curious and looked around. This place was considered an important place in the Abyss. Usually, no fiendish demons were qualified to come here except for the Kings of the Abyss and the primordial fiendish demons. Therefore, they were also very curious about this legendary place and wanted to broaden their horizons. Huh! Xia Ping also looked around and immediately found himself in a huge square. It was huge and seemed to have no end. Above his head was the dark sky. It seemed that he was surrounded by the power of the dark abyss like an eggshell. The void in all directions was covered with the power of restriction. It seemed that if any fiendish demons dared to touch it, they would be instantly killed by the restriction formation of the abyss and die without a whole corpse. In the distance was the mysterious Forbidden Abyss. However, the abyssal forbidden area in the distance had also been enveloped by countless spatial distortions, layer upon layer, and countless spatial restriction formations had appeared in the surrounding void. However, from time to time, from the spacetime cracks above the forbidden abyss, a terrifying aura of death and the angry roar of the abyss came out, which was enough to make countless fiendish demons tremble in fear and throb from the depths of their blood. Obviously, the forbidden abyss here had long been sealed by the restriction formation set up by the Kings of the Abyss. In fact, this was not a base to seal the abyss, and the Kings of the Abyss did not have the ability to do so. They only built restriction formations in the area to form a restriction wall to prevent other fiendish demons from entering. They also isolated the terrifying power in the forbidden abyss from seeping out to prevent it from hurting the outside world. Is this the most mysterious place in the abyss? Xia Ping rubbed his chin. His emotions were surging because he didn't expect that he would be able to reach the core of the abyss so quickly. This was a place that even the invincible saints of the myriad of races couldn't get close to, not even in the ancient times. In fact, the closer he got to the forbidden area of the abyss, the more he could feel the terror of the abyssal energy. It was everywhere, permeating the void and eroding every cell in his body. To the abyssal demons, this kind of abyssal energy was naturally a great supplement. The closer they were to it, the more benefits they could obtain, and the stronger the abyssal energy in their bodies. However, the abyssal power was like a deadly poison to all living beings in the universe. Even an invincible saint would find it difficult to stay in such a place for a long time. If he stayed any longer, he would probably be completely corroded and degenerate into an abyssal creature. Fortunately, he had the bloodline of the Golden Crow of Hell, which allowed him to survive even in the dirtiest places in Hell, not to mention the abyss world and the power to devour the abyss. As soon as the abyssal power entered his body, the hellfire crucible would devour it, expunging impurities and transforming it into pure power that he could use to improve his own magical power. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, tens of thousands of demons with powerful auras appeared in the teleportation formation. They walked out rapidly from the teleportation formation. Other than the demons from the Rock Demon City, there were also powerful demons from all over the Abyss continent. Almost every city had sent a large number of demons to participate in the Abyss Grand Tournament. The number of such demons was simply uncountable. Looking over, almost all of them were at the immemorial ancient realm, and immemorial ancient realm demons could be found everywhere. If not for the fact that the nature of the power was different, Xia Ping would have thought that he had returned to hell. Isn't this Austin? Why are you in this place? At this moment, a crisp voice rang out. A tall and extremely beautiful woman walked over. She had a pair of purple bull horns on her head, and her body exuded a powerful aura. Lightning flashed faintly, and thunder patterns covered her body. Her strength had reached the immemorial ancient realm. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, all the fiendish demons from the Rock Demon City looked at Xia Ping in unison. Monica, who was standing at the side, was also a little dumbfounded. She did not know when Austin had gotten to know such a beautiful female fiendish demon. Moreover, her strength did not seem to lose to her. Oh my God, this is the Saintess of the Ox Demon City, Shamansa. It is said that she is second to none, and her strength is only inferior to the Abyssal King's. Some demons seemed to recognize this woman, and could not help but exclaim. In fact, such powerful demons were also very famous in the Abyss continent. Even if not every demon knew them, a considerable number of them would. This Shamansa was one of them. She was the famous Thunder Demon. Oh, this is my ex-girlfriend. It's all in the past. Xia Ping immediately recalled this matter from Austin's memories. Austin seemed to have had an affair with this woman, but this woman was purely a pervert, and she loved to use thunder to shock people. Austin had been tortured by this woman to the point where he wished he was dead. He would be shocked every few days, and his brain was almost fried. For the sake of his own life, he had to run away. Ex-girlfriend? When did this happen? I did not agree to break up with you. That night you left without a word. Do you know that I have been looking for you for a long time? This time, don't even think of running away. Shamansa's beautiful eyes revealed a glimmer of light. She felt her blood boiling, because she had rarely been so moved by her prey. Originally, she thought that she had forgotten about this prey, but now that she saw him again, she realized that this man was many times more handsome than before, and he was even more manly. She was a little unable to control the impulse in her body, and she wanted to make this handsome man her own. Shamansa, get out of here. Who do you think you are? Austin is my man. At this moment, another female demon came from afar. She was very beautiful, and she was wearing black silk clothes. She was tall, and she looked like a black widow, exuding an enchanting aura. She looked at Shamansa with extreme arrogance, and seemed to be very familiar with Austin. Sogu Reading Website. Chapter 2747. Damn, another woman? All the fiendish demons were dumbfounded. One of them was enough. They didn't expect another to come. Moreover, this Black Widow female fiendish demon wasn't simple either. Her strength had reached the archaic realm and wasn't any weaker than Monica and the other fiendish demons. My God, that's the dark spider demon Catherine, the famous Black Widow of the Abyss continent. It's said that countless fiendish demons have died in her hands. Her status is second only to the Abyss King. Many fiendish demons think that she's not far from the Abyss King realm. A fiendish demon couldn't help but exclaim. He recognized this woman. She was the famous Black Widow. Who's this woman? Monica's face darkened. Her tone was a little gloomy as she stared at Xia Ping. She's also my ex-girlfriend. Xia Ping's mouth twitched. That was indeed the case. This dark spider demon Catherine had once had a relationship with Austin and was kept by him. Unfortunately, this woman was also a pervert. This woman loved to tie people up with spiderwebs. Austin didn't know how many times he had been tied up, from morning to night without any rest. Once, when this woman wasn't paying attention, Austin tore apart the spiderwebs and ran away. He was so scared that he didn't dare to go near the city where this woman was. Even when he heard the news, he quickly escaped to avoid being caught. What ex-girlfriend? Austin, you're my favorite pet. Don't tell me you've forgotten about this. Do you want me to help you remember? Catherine looked at Xiaoping with a smile. Catherine, you filthy woman. Leave Lord Austin immediately. Don't go within 10 meters of him. I want to vomit just looking at you. At this time, another female fiendish demon in white came over. She looked at Austin with an infatuated expression, as if she had seen a prey that she hadn't seen for a long time. She wanted to swallow Austin alive. Her face was pure, as if she was a saintess untainted. But seeing this female fiendish demon, all the fiendish demons took dozens of steps back in fright. They couldn't help but cry out in fear, "White Bone Demon Jennifer, why is she here?" In fact, the other demons could not be blamed for being so afraid. The white-boned devil Jennifer was more famous than the other demons. However, it was not a good reputation but a bad reputation. This demoness had a murderous nature and would slaughter an entire clan at the slightest provocation. Wherever she passed, everything turned into white bones. It was said that this was because she had a hobby of collecting bones. She liked to skin these beheaded demons and pull out their tendons, leaving only a pile of bones for her collection at home. Even her castle was built from the skeletons of countless demons, giving it an eerie feeling. Who is she? Monica's face had completely darkened. She's also my ex-girlfriend. The corner of Xiaoping's mouth couldn't help but twitch. He didn't even know how many demonesses Austin had provoked and how many of them had taken care of him. His footprints were practically all over the Abyss continent. However, Austin had no choice but to run away from the white bone demon, Jennifer, because this female demon was also a pervert. Although she was also infatuated and liked Austin very much. The problem was that this woman liked Austin too much. She only liked Austin's bones. Therefore, she wanted to devour all of Austin's flesh and blood, turning Austin into a pile of bones that would accompany her for eternity. This thought immediately scared Austin to the point of peeing his pants. He ran away in the middle of the night. If he was one step late, he would most likely be turned into a skeleton specimen by this woman. "Oh my God, Lord Austin, I didn't expect to meet you in this place. This is really great. Since the last time we parted, I thought I would never be able to see you again. Now that we can finally meet again, it seems that we are fated. Austin, you won't be able to escape this time. In the end, you're mine. No one can save you." At this time, powerful demonesses walked over from afar. When they saw Austin, it was as if they had discovered a new continent. All of them were extremely excited. Some of them were white-faced fox demons, some were succubus demons, some were scarlet scorpion demons, and some were nine-headed snake demons. However, each of them had reached the archaic realm and were extremely tyrannical. Each of them exuded a tyrannical aura that shook the void. When these demonesses arrived, their auras kept clashing with each other. It was as if the void was about to be torn apart, and none of them were willing to give in. The surrounding demons were dumbfounded. They didn't expect this kid to have hooked up with so many demonesses. Every one of them was a famous existence in the Abyss continent. But now, they actually had an extraordinary relationship with this kid. Damn it, how could this make sense? What kind of charm did this kid have? Was there any logic to it? All the fiendish demons were envious and jealous of Xiaoping. Why did these female fiendish demons take a fancy to this pretty boy, but not to them? Was there still justice in this world? What kind of charm did this kid have? What was so great about him? Who are they? Monica gritted her teeth. She seemed to be in a state of blackness. They are all my ex-girlfriends, Xiaoping said honestly. In fact, these demonesses were more or less related to Austen in the past. This was all because of Austen's womanizing. The reason why the demonesses that Austen provoked were so powerful was because of the special characteristics of the flower demon's bloodline. The stronger the demoness, the easier it was for them to be attracted by the power of the flower demon's bloodline. On the contrary, the weaker the demoness, the more they looked down on Austen. Therefore, for his own survival, Austen used the power of his bloodline to have relationships with powerful demonesses and became their sugar moms. Originally, he thought that he could reach the peak of his life just like that. But he didn't expect that these demonesses were all perverts. They were either torturers, stalkers, or murderers. None of them were normal. They tortured him until he wished he was dead. This also forced Austen to flee everywhere, hoping to avoid these demonesses. Austen wanted to be a sugar moms. He wanted to get rich overnight. He didn't want to work hard, but he didn't want to die. But this couldn't be helped. After all, being a gigolo had its risk. Who knew what kind of perverted hobbies these rich women had? Later, he finally found a Monica who wasn't so perverted. He didn't expect that she would be killed by other jealous demonesses. His life was miserable, and nothing good happened. Chapter 2748. Humph. Hearing this, Monica snorted coldly and looked at the female demons in front of her with an unfriendly gaze. You must be Moon Demon Monica. You have some skills. You even dare to snatch my man. Don't you have any shame? Do you like second-hand goods and play with the leftovers of others? When Shamansa heard this cold snort, she immediately stared at Monica and sneered. The other female demons also smiled faintly and looked at Monica in unison. They could all see that this woman was their biggest competitor. She seemed to be Austen's current girlfriend. All of them showed hostility and disdain in their eyes. The surrounding abyssal demons immediately became spirited. They widened their eyes and watched the show from the side. This was like a scene of charaba. They were going to fight it out on the spot. Moreover, these were not ordinary demons. They were famous immemorial demons. Their strength was second only to the abyssal kings. One could imagine their combat power. If these immemorial demons fought, it would be a complete mess. However, such a thing was simply unheard of in the Abyss continent. He was just an immortal demon, but he actually caused these powerful female immemorial demons to fight for his affections. To be honest, what kind of charm did this kid have to make these female demons disregard their image and fight it out in front of so many demons? It was really unimaginable. At this moment, many abyssal demons gradually gathered over. It was the nature of life to watch a show. Even abyssal demons could not avoid it. Don't be arrogant here, an abandoned woman. I'm afraid it's because of your personality that Lord Austen doesn't like you and chose to break up with you. Have you ever reflected on this? If you're old, you should find an old man. Aren't you ashamed of fighting with others over some fresh meat? You don't even know your own age. Monica sneered and retorted, not to be outdone. What? Hearing this, Charmansa and the other female demons widened their eyes and glared at Monica. Their hearts instantly burned with anger. This damned girl really dared to say anything. He actually dared to say that they were old. It had been many years since a fiendish demon dared to say such words in front of them. Any fiendish demon that dared to say such words had basically turned into a cup of soil. But this damned girl actually dared to say such words in front of them. She was truly audacious to the extreme. She didn't even know how to write the word death. It could be said that this poked at the soft spot in the depths of their hearts. Little girl, you haven't even grown your hair yet, and you still dare to boast shamelessly here. Snatching a man doesn't depend on age, it depends on charm. You should go back and train for a few years before coming out. Others might be afraid of your father, the Night Demon King, but I'm not. Just because you have a good father, you want to learn from others and snatch a man's love. Do you have any shame? Dark Spider Demon Catherine sneered and looked at Monica arrogantly. Charm? You're not fit to talk to me about charm. You should go back and lose some weight. If you lose a few pounds, maybe some men will want you. Your problem is that you're fat. Don't you understand? Monica sneered. Fat? What do you know? This is called curvaceous and mature, do you understand? You actually dare to say that I'm fat? The dark spider demon Catherine was so angry that she almost died. Her pretty face turned red, and she wanted to eat Monica alive. In her entire life, she had never heard any demon say that she was fat. Who didn't know that she had the most perfect and most devilish figure? Her reputation had also resounded throughout the entire Abyss continent. Almost no demon didn't know about her. To be honest, she couldn't stand this woman. She was too king infuriating. Don't talk to this little girl. Whatever she says is like fart. She doesn't listen at all. She's probably been spoiled by the Night Demon King, and got a princess syndrome. She thinks that all the demons in the world have to give in to her. White Bone Demon Jennifer sneered, and looked at Monica disdainfully. Princess syndrome? I'm a princess, so what if I have a princess syndrome? Look at your pale face, you probably eat very little to lose weight. Let me tell you, you're different from Catherine. You're just plain ugly. No matter how much you lose weight, it's useless. This is innate. You should go for plastic surgery. That's the best way to solve it. Congenital deficiencies have to be made up for later. Monica sneered. You. White Bone Demon Jennifer was furious. Her finger pointed at Monica and trembled slightly. She knew Catherine's current mood. She couldn't wait to cut this girl into pieces. She was a white bone demon. She was born like this, skinny as a bag of bones. This was a very normal appearance. But from the mouth of this bastard woman, she actually dared to say that she became like this to lose weight. Moreover, this woman's mouth was extremely poisonous. She even dared to openly say that she was ugly and that her congenital deficiencies had to be made up for later in life. What kind of woman could endure such an evaluation? She wanted to tear this little girl apart. Xia Ping blinked his eyes. He didn't expect Monica to be such a sharp-tongued woman. Her poisonous tongue was no less than his own strength. He didn't know if she had hidden such a talent before. Once it burst out, it was simply a battle of words. It was easy to deal with these female demons. The surrounding abyssal fiendish demons were also dumbfounded, and a chill surged in the depths of their hearts. The tit-for-tat between the words of these women, and the flashes of blades and shadows of swords weren't the slightest bit inferior to a battle of life and death. It was simply fatal, and it attacked the hearts of the abyssal fiendish demons. Sharp-tongued little girl. You really refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. In that case, there's no need to be polite with you. Let's solve this problem according to the most normal rules of our abyss. The white-faced fox demon said with a smile. Her body exuded a faint killing intent. The so-called most normal rule of the abyss was actually killing. The strong were respected. Whoever was stronger could get everything. This was the way the abyss solved everything. If one's strength was insufficient, then there was no way to get anything. This was the rule. The winner was king and the loser was the thief. This was also an extremely cruel rule. Hee, who's afraid of who? Do you think you can defeat me, Moon Demon Monica, with your own strength? Monica sneered. She was not afraid at all. She was the daughter of the Night Demon King. She was born with a noble bloodline and outstanding battle strength. How could an ordinary Abyss demon compare to her? Other than the Abyss King, she was not afraid of anyone. Rumble, in an instant, the many female demons present looked at each other. A huge world domain spread out from their bodies and collided together. It was as if many worlds were colliding. It clearly hadn't started, but the void in all directions had been shaken by the terrifying power of the world domain, causing huge cracks to appear in the void. Chapter 2749. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Sensing the terrifying aura, the surrounding abyssal demons' expressions changed drastically. They knew that these women were serious. The murderous intent in the depths of the void completely proved their determination. In the abyss, there was no difference between men and women. The only difference was strength. Demons who were not strong enough would be killed instantly and become low-level demons. Shah Munsa and the other primordial fiendish demons could make a name for themselves among the countless abyssal demons and instilled fear in countless abyssal demons. That was because they killed their way out and not because other demons gave in to them. In an instant, the nearby abyssal demons retreated. They did not dare to stay at their original spot lest they were affected by the aftershocks of the battle between these primordial fiendish demons. In a battle between demons of this level, even primordial fiendish demons of the same level would be wary, let alone primordial fiendish demons. If they were not careful, they might be seriously injured. They did not want to be involved in such a battle. Oh my God, they are really going to fight over a man! The surrounding abyssal demons were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe their eyes. They looked at Xia Ping with complicated expressions. Their hearts were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. This guy was simply a femme fatale. Did being handsome really bring so many benefits? He actually made so many female demons go crazy and fight over him. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying aura descended from the depths of the void. In an instant, the world domains of Monica and the other female demons were suppressed and completely shattered. Immediately, an old man in a suit with a walking stick in his hand and a pair of goat horns on his head walked out of the void. His body exuded a terrifying abyssal aura. In just an instant, Monica and the other primordial fiendish demons were suppressed to the point that they could not move. All their world domains were destroyed and the abyssal demon chi was completely destroyed. They could not use any power at all. The other abyssal demons were also shocked. Although the appearance of the old man in the suit was not targeted at them, just the aftershock of his power was enough to easily suppress them. At this moment, they felt as though they were carrying a world on their backs. It was so heavy that they could not breathe and all their power was suppressed. Xia Ping also felt the terrifying pressure. To be honest, he could feel that the old man in the suit was extremely terrifying. He was not any weaker than the human race patriarchs he had met before. The aura of chaos, ancientness, and abyss emanated from it. It was as if it had lived through countless years and experienced countless seasons. It was as if it was a living history. Great Elder. Seeing the appearance of the old man in the suit, even the unruly Monica and the other female fiendish demons could not help but restrain their emotions. They immediately withdrew all their powers and respectfully bowed. This was because this old man was the famous Great Elder of the Demon Palace, Time Demon Emolun. In fact, before the Demonlord appeared, Great Elder Emolun was one of the strongest kings in the Abyss world. Its strength far surpassed that of the Night Demon King and the other Demon Kings, and it could be said to be one of the most ancient existences in the Abyss world. It had also lived from the immemorial era to the present day, running through the history of the Abyss world. Even now, its strength was second only to the Devil Lord. The Abyss demons present were basically its juniors. Ever since it appeared, when it fought in the north and south, the Abyss demons present were probably not even born yet. Therefore, be it in terms of history or strength, no demon dared to act rashly in front of this great Elder Caesar. This is the forbidden area of the Abyss, you must not act rashly. This is your first offense, so I'll let you off this time. If there's a next time, then I'll imprison you in the Abyss prison for 10,000 years as punishment. Great Elder Emolun said lightly. Abyss prison? Hearing this, Monica and the other fiendish demons could not help but shiver. This was one of the most terrifying places in the Abyss world. Once one entered, there was basically no way to escape. Moreover, it was completely dark inside without any light. Time and space would be distorted, and the perception of time would be extremely long. If one stayed inside for too long, they would almost go crazy. That kind of silent, unmoving, and seemingly endless prison, even the Abyss King would not be able to hold on for long. What was even more terrifying was that the Abyss Prison would also give birth to a creature called the Soul Devourer. This creature was silent, colorless, and formless. It specialized in devouring the optimistic emotions and memories of the fiendish demons' souls, leaving only the negative, murderous, crazy, and sad memories and emotions. Staying in that place was like turning into a madman. At every moment, one would feel incomparable sadness and madness, or fall into a murderous state, unable to extricate themselves. All the fiendish demons that came out of the Abyss Prison would more or less suffer from mental illness. It would take a long time for them to recover from such psychological trauma. Some fiendish demons could not even recover, and in the end, it would become a weakness in their soul, like a psychological shadow. Therefore, many fiendish demons were afraid of this place, and would rather die than go there. Understood, Great Elder. Thinking of this, Monica and the other fiendish demons immediately nodded. They expressed that they would definitely not fight in this place, and would definitely not violate the rules here. That's for the best. Time Demon Emoluan nodded. He glanced at Xia Ping slightly, then turned around and entered the void. In an instant, his figure disappeared in front of the fiendish demons, and the terrifying power that enveloped the entire square also disappeared at this moment. At this moment, all the fiendish demons could not help but heave a sigh of relief, as if the calamity had disappeared. In fact, if this Great Elder wanted to, he could probably easily wipe out all the fiendish demons present and disappear from the Abyss world in an instant. This Great Elder is not simple. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He could feel the terror of Time Demon Emolun. There seemed to be a tyrannical law of time flowing on his body, as if he had reversed the law of time. Even time could not bind his figure. Although he appeared in the void on the surface, in fact, his true body was in the river of time, and he could jump in the time dimension at will. This ability made Time Demon Emoluan one of the strongest Abyss Kings, just a step away from becoming a god. But thinking of this, his heart became even heavier. Even such a tyrannical Time Demon Emoluan was still not the number one expert in the Abyss world. The number one expert was the mysterious Demonlord of unknown origin. This Demonlord could even suppress Time Demon Emoluan and make him submit wholeheartedly. One could imagine how terrifying this Demonlord was. He was definitely an existence that made people tremble in fear. Perhaps this Demonlord's strength was not inferior to the Great Elder of the Dragon Clan, the Dragon God Shrine Master Samuel, who had lived from the last universe era to the present. Chapter 2750. Humph, Monica, consider yourself lucky this time. With the Great Elder here, if it were another place, I'm afraid you would be finished. Sha Munsa and the other female fiend breathed a sigh of relief after seeing Great Elder Emolun leave. Then she sneered and stared at Monica with unabated hostility. What a joke! Without the Great Elder here, you would be dead already. What right do you have to talk to me here? Monica was not to be outdone. However, Shamansa and the other demonesses ignored Monica and focused their attention on Xia Ping. Austin, you are mine. No demon can take you away from me. You can't run this time. I will find you no matter where you hide in the abyss. Lord Austin, you will belong to me. You will always belong to me. Streams of divine sense transmitted into Xia Ping's sea of consciousness. They were all transmitted by these female demons. Their desire for Xia Ping was very strong and domineering. This made Xia Ping feel extremely strange in his heart. It was as if he was the true femme fatale, causing many demonesses to fight each other, causing the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. Perhaps this was the feeling of those femme fatale beauties in ancient times, such as Su Daji, Yang Guifei de Qiao, Xiao Qiao, and Diao Chan being fought over by those ambitious men. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After saying that, the female fiendish demons left the place. Clearly, the Great Elder's words were very serious. Not many fiendish demons dared to go against the Great Elder's words. Humph, I didn't expect you to have such a rich love history. You have so many ex-girlfriends that it's scary. Monica gritted her teeth and stared at Xia Ping. Honestly, if she knew this bastard had so many ex-girlfriends and such complicated feelings, she would not have kept him. Well, it's not my fault that I'm handsome, Xia Ping said innocently. When the abyssal demons at the side heard this, they couldn't help but want to beat this kid up. His words were really asking for it. They were all envious, jealous, and hateful. Why was this brat able to attract the adoration of so many outstanding female demons? This was simply too unfair. Was there still any reason for this? Not far away, the nine-armed lion Devil Gentutin and his subordinates were also witnessing this scene. Their worldview had been completely refreshed. It was truly unimaginable. Damn, what did this kid do? What's so great that so many powerful female demons like him? What kind of joke is this? Some ancient demons were dumbfounded. If he was a sugar daddy of a rich woman, then he would be a gigolo. But if he was a sugar daddy of a group of rich women, then he would be the king of Wai. He could become a legend. And the most annoying thing was that these rich women were very beautiful, powerful, and rich, with many suitors. And the most annoying thing was that these rich women were very beautiful, powerful, and rich, with many suitors. This brat does have some methods to make women happy. His flattery skills have probably reached perfection. The nine-armed lion Devil Gentutin was so jealous that his intestines turned green. In fact, among them, the dark spider demon Catherine was a female demon that it had admired for a long time. It had also pursued her before, giving her many gifts and spending a lot of effort. But she didn't even look at him. Instead, she beat him up. If it was a weak female demon, he might be able to force himself on her and snatch her away. The problem was that she was stronger than him. How could he snatch her away? But this kind of woman actually liked this shameless, despicable, and weak gigolo. He didn't even need to put in any effort to obtain dark spider demon Catherine's favor. How could he accept such a ridiculous fact? Even without the matter with his son, he would still kill this bastard. No demon in the abyss could imagine his anger at this moment. If anger could affect reality, this area would probably be burnt to a crisp. Boss, this flower demon Austin is really too demonic. I really can't stand him. Just looking at him makes me want to beat him up. I really can't stand him for even a second. A demon said while gnashing his teeth. Don't worry. Once we enter the forbidden abyss, he's dead for sure. At that time, no demon can save him. The nine-armed lion Devil Gentutin clenched his fist. He felt his killing intent getting stronger and stronger. If it wasn't for the threat of the Grand Elder, he wouldn't have been able to control his urge to punch that kid. But what if those female demons protect that kid? Yeah, it looks like those female demons are also going to enter the forbidden abyss. If that kid is protected by them, it'll be hard for us to do anything to him. Many demons discussed. They felt that the current situation was a little tricky. If the flower demon was protected by those female demons, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. After all, those female demons had reached the archaic realm. In terms of strength, they were even stronger than the nine-armed lion Devil Gentutin. Don't worry. Once we enter the forbidden abyss, all of us demons will be separated and teleported to different corners of the forbidden abyss. Unless we gather inside, we won't be able to gather together from the start. As long as we quickly find that kid, we'll be able to get rid of him easily. The nine-armed lion Devil Gentutin was filled with killing intent. In another place, that was a place where the abyssal kings gathered. It seemed like they were in a palace far away from the plaza. These kings could also easily sense the situation on the plaza. In fact, when the Grand Elder Time Devil Mo Luan made his move, they already knew. Haha, Night Devil King, I didn't expect your son-in-law to be so charming. He clearly isn't that strong, but he's so popular with women. The one who spoke was an abyssal king. He immediately laughed at the Night Devil King. He's not my son-in-law. The Night Devil King's face was very dark. He felt that because of that kid, Xia Ping, he had lost face in front of so many abyssal monsters. He's not your son-in-law, but looking at your daughter, she probably won't marry anyone but him. An abyssal monster laughed cruelly. Humph, if he wants to become my son-in-law, we'll have to see if he can come back alive from the forbidden abyss. If he dies inside, then everything will be over. The Night Devil King sneered. Then if he comes back alive, won't you have to acknowledge his position? The Abyssal Devil King smiled. We'll talk about it when he comes back alive. The Night Devil King didn't comment. Of course, he also didn't believe that this guy who lived off a woman could come back alive from the forbidden abyss that was filled with dangers. Even an abyssal monster like him would feel that this place was filled with dangers and couldn't be underestimated. Otherwise, if he took a wrong step, he might die without a complete corpse and turn into ashes. Chapter 2751. Several hours later, powerful abyssal demons from all over the Abyss continent gathered in the square. Even though not all of the primordial fiendish demons were gathered here, more than half of them were gathered here. Looking over, they were densely packed together, and it was impossible to tell how many there were. In truth, Xia Ping felt a little suffocated when he saw this scene. He had underestimated the battle potential of the Abyss demons. Just these primordial fiendish demons and primordial fiendish demons alone could cause great danger to the modern universe. If his true identity was exposed in the Abyss, he would be dead instantly. He wouldn't be able to escape at all. From this, one could see how tyrannical the abyssal demons were. No wonder they could contend against all the races in the universe. If this power erupted, it could definitely sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 earth. Boom! At this moment, when all the abyssal demons had gathered, a figure appeared in midair, emitting a terrifying pressure that suppressed the entire square. In an instant, all the abyssal demons held their breath and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Because the Great Elder, Time Demon Emoluan, appeared again. He held a walking stick and looked down at all the abyssal demons. All the abyssal demons could feel the Great Elder's abyss-like vast power. The Abyssal Forbidden Area Grand Competition is about to begin. Almost all of you are here, so the content of this grand competition is very simple. Great Elder Emoluan didn't waste any time and directly revealed the content of this competition. It's to see who gains more in the Abyssal Forbidden Area and who will win. What? As soon as he said this, all the abyssal demons revealed a stern look and their faces became very solemn. Usually, the abyssal demons would fight against each other to show which demon was more powerful. This was a real fight with swords and spears. It was very bloody. But this time, the content was to examine the gains in the Abyssal Forbidden Area. Although it didn't seem as barbaric and bloody on the surface, in fact, it was many times more dangerous. Because this was not just any other place but the Abyssal Forbidden Area. It was a terrifying place that even the Abyssal Kings would fall in. It was a place that was formed after the fall of God. To gain gains in such a place was more difficult than ascending to the heavens. If they were to fight each other, it would be relatively simple. After all, they were all primordial realm demons. Even if there was a difference in strength between them, the difference wouldn't be unimaginable. The problem was that if one wanted to obtain treasures in the Forbidden Abyss, one would have to face the unpredictable dangers in the Forbidden Abyss. If one was careless, one would die instantly. This kind of danger did not matter how strong one was. Even an Abyss King would die, let alone an immemorial demon. From this, it could be seen how dangerous this competition was. It was possible that all the abyssal demons participating in this competition would be wiped out. Harvest from the Abyss Forbidden Land? Xia Ping touched his chin. In fact, he had heard a lot of news and rumors about the Abyss Forbidden Area from Monica. Other than the top secret information, Monica basically said everything that she could. The most popular and common treasures in the Abyss Forbidden area were God's Blood and God's Stone. The so-called God's Blood was the blood left behind by the gods after they died. This blood contained a trace of divinity and had the power of immortality. It hid a huge amount of energy. Even a drop of God's blood could bring endless benefit. It could save the abyssal demons countless years of cultivation time. It could even improve the aptitude and bloodline of the demons. After some abyssal demons obtained God's blood, they immediately improved their aptitude and advanced to the Abyss King realm. With these examples, one could imagine how precious the God's blood was. Countless demons from the Abyss would definitely covet it. Every demon would want to get their hands on it. However, God's blood could not be devoured casually. It had a strong assimilation and corrosive ability. It even contained a deadly poison. If a demon with insufficient aptitude and a weak body tried to devour God's blood, it would instantly explode from the power contained in the God's blood and explode into pieces. The so-called God's Stone was a special or that was formed under the influence of the God's power. Such God's Stone did not have the ability to improve one's aptitude like God's blood. However, it was very pure and had no poison. Each God's Stone was equivalent to a sage medicine. It was extremely precious and could increase one's spiritual power and cultivation. It could even increase or decrease one's spiritual power and increase one's understanding of the laws of the universe. The benefits were endless. From a certain perspective, the God's Stone was the treasure that these abyssal demons wanted the most. Other than God's blood and God's stone, there were also many God artifact fragments. These God artifact fragments were all fragments that were produced when countless deities battled in the previous universe era, resulting in the destruction of countless deities. Although they were fragments, each one was extremely precious. They contained the characteristics of a God artifact and possessed terrifying power. Some God artifact fragments could even surpass peerless sage artifact. Even without special powers, just the materials of these God artifact fragments were enough to make countless demons drool. They could use these God artifact fragments to fuse into their own sage artifacts to increase the power of the sage artifact. If used appropriately, they could probably mass-produce magic treasures with the power of peerless sage artifact. Of course, it was not that easy to obtain God artifact fragments. They were scattered in places where gods had fallen. Such places were extremely dangerous and filled with murderous auras. Even Abyss Kings did not dare to go near casually. In fact, some Abyss Kings had relied on their strength to obtain large amounts of God artifact fragments. In the end, they were killed by the power of the fallen gods and died without a complete corpse. This also taught those Abyss Kings a lesson. Alright, there is not much time left. Let the Abyss Forbidden Area competition begin. At this moment, Grand Elder Emoluan spoke again. With a thud, he gently poked the scepter in his hand. Instantly, the void trembled and an ancient bronze gate appeared in the distance. This was the gate that connected the Abyss and the modern universe across the entire Abyss world, Abyss Demon Gate. Abyss Demon Gate? Xia Ping squinted his eyes. He did not expect to encounter the Abyss Demon Gate so soon. Moreover, this gate seemed to be one of its clones. It was specially used to suppress the restrictions of the Abyss Forbidden Area and connect it to the outside world. However, every important place in the Abyss was closely related to the Abyss Demon Gate. It was almost everywhere. Rumble before Xia Ping could think much. The Abyss Demon Gate opened immediately and revealed a dark passageway that seemed to connect to the deepest part of the Abyss Forbidden Area. It emitted terrifying divine power. Chapter 2752. Go in. Seeing the Abyss Gate open, Grand Elder Emoluan said, "But you can only stay in the Abyss for 3 months. After 3 months, the Abyss Gate will open again. If you don't return in time, you can only rely on your own strength to leave the Abyss. Of course, under normal circumstances, no abyssal demon can return alive." He swept an indifferent glance at all the demons present. Instantly, all the abyssal demons present couldn't help but shiver. They could all hear the chilling tone in the Grand Elder's words. In an instant, many primordial fiendish demons didn't waste any time and immediately flew towards the abyss gate. They already knew how dangerous the abyss was, but even so, they still participated and were mentally prepared. Seeing the primordial fiendish demons move, the other demons didn't hesitate either. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In a few breaths' time, almost all the fiendish demons, including Xiaoping, entered the abyss gate at the same time and crossed the void tunnel. In the next second, Xiaoping immediately felt a tyrannical void force teleporting him out. Before he could even put up any resistance, he had arrived in another space. This is the Abyss Forbidden Area. At that moment, Xiaoping felt as if he had stepped on solid red soil. As far as the eye could see, it was an endless stretch of blood-colored soil, as if it had been eroded by an endless sea of blood. Just by standing here, he felt like there were billions of corpses buried under the blood-colored soil. He didn't know how many lives had perished in this place. Such a place was also filled with a deathly stillness. There were no signs of life at all, as though it was constantly devouring life energy. And above the sky there seemed to be cracks. Countless void cracks appeared. Each void crack stretched for tens of millions of kilometers, as though it had cut the sky in half. Deep within these void cracks, whistling sounds could be heard. Violent winds howled, as though there were endless void storms about to drill out of the cracks and destroy everything. This place is very vast. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. His divine sense was extremely powerful and could cover 3 million light-years in an instant. The area it covered was simply boundless. Even so, his divine sense was unable to completely cover this forbidden area of the abyss. It could only cover a small corner of it, but it was already larger than a star field. From this, it could be seen how vast this forbidden area was. It was no wonder that these abyssal demons were unable to completely explore the forbidden area. Moreover, under the perception of his divine sense, there were countless places that could be called forbidden areas. There were many tyrannical restrictive formations covering them, and there was a terrifying power that distorted the void. If his divine sense got slightly closer, it would instantly trigger this taboo-like power, and he would be severely injured. This place was full of taboos and dangers. This place was probably even more dangerous than the demon god's relic in the Green Lotus Hell. He had no idea how many gods had fallen in this place. It seems like the other abyssal demons have been teleported elsewhere. Xiaoping sensed his surroundings and realized that besides himself, there were no other abyssal demons around. It was likely that when he was being teleported, he had randomly teleported many abyssal demons to various corners of the Forbidden Abyss. Of course, they were all teleported to the outer corners of the Forbidden Ground. If they were teleported to the depths of the Forbidden Grounds, then it wouldn't be a grand competition anymore. They would simply want to exterminate all the abyssal demons. Roar! Just then, a terrifying roar came from afar. It was like the roar of a giant abyssal beast. It caused the laws of the void to tremble. It was deafening and it made one dizzy. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, hundreds of terrifying monsters appeared in the distant void. They were completely blood-red, and seemed to be formed from countless lumps of minced meat. They squirmed constantly and had noses, eyes, and ears. However, their shapes were different. Some were like tigers, some like leopards, some like octopuses, some like rhinoceroses, and so on. There were all sorts of strange shapes. However, all of these monsters exuded a terrifying murderous aura, as well as a terrifying power of resentment. This was a little similar to the abominations he had encountered in the demon god's relic. Right, these are abominations. Suddenly, Xiaoping had a flash of inspiration. He immediately recalled this matter from the top secret records of the human race. It seemed that these monsters were unique to the forbidden lands of darkness. These so-called abominations were the deathly aura, unwillingness, resentment, and rage that were condensed after the death of the gods. Coupled with the murderous aura of the universe, the power of the gods' blood, and so on, after countless years, extremely terrifying monsters were born. These abominations could be said to be indestructible. They were difficult to kill and exterminate. Even if they were beaten to the point where only a single cell was left, they would rapidly regenerate. Because of this, these abominations were the most terrifying monsters in the forbidden lands of darkness. Even demigod powerhouses would have a huge headache if they encountered these monsters. Even though ordinary abominations could not kill demigod powerhouses, they could deplete the powers within demigod powerhouses' bodies. Once their powers were depleted, they would be like turtles in a jar. If a saint below the level of a demigod were to encounter these abominations, he would probably be in grave danger. It was very likely that he would be swarmed and torn apart in an instant. He would then be completely devoured. Interesting. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could sense that these abominations were a little different from the abominations he had encountered in the past. Abominations were filled with demonic nature, and they were extremely crazy, attempting to devour everything. However, abominations were different. They were not as crazy as abominations, but they were even more terrifying. This was because they possessed terrifying corrosive and toxic properties. Once they were infected by the blood of gods, ordinary lifeforms would die without a doubt. They would instantly become the puppets of the abominations. They would lose their rationality and become walking corpses. Therefore, one could not be injured when fighting against them. One had to attack from afar, or they would definitely die. Rumble, in an instant, the hundreds of abominations in the wilderness far away sensed the aura emitted from Xia Ping's body. They were like hunting dogs that had smelled the scent of their prey, and they immediately pounced over. Moreover, their speed was unbelievably fast. It was as if they had instantly melded into the void. Without a sound, they attacked from all directions. Ordinary demons from the abyss could not react at all. They would be killed and torn apart by these abominations in an instant. Chapter 27:53. Courting Death. Seeing these abominations charging over, Xia Ping's eyes were emotionless. Back when he was weaker, he wasn't even afraid of these abominations. Now that he was at the immemorial ancient full realm, and was just a step away from the immemorial ancient realm, there was even less of a need for him to fear these abominations. Moreover, in this abyss forbidden ground, there was almost no power that could spy on him. He also didn't need to unleash his powers here to let the other abyssal demons sense that something was wrong. It could be said that he could completely unleash the powers of his main body. Infernal Golden Crow Claw. Instantly, Xia Ping channeled the power of the infernal Golden Crow bloodline in his body and clawed towards these abominations. Boom! At this moment, the void within a radius of tens of millions of kilometers seemed to have frozen. Everything in this area was in a state of absolute stillness. Even these extremely terrifying abominations stopped for a moment. It was as though they were shackled in midair and couldn't move at all. Dong! In the next second, the claw lashed out. It was as though the claw of an immemorial mythical bird had reached out from the depths of the void. It emitted a terrifying might that suppressed the surroundings and suppressed everything. At the same time, the crimson claw emitted the terrifying power of the infernal Golden Crow flames. Streaks of flames burst out and seemed to have the power to incinerate the void, incinerate everything, and destroy everything. Even the abominations felt waves of fear when they felt this destructive power. It was as though when these flames touched their bodies, even their souls and laws would be incinerated into nothingness. Unfortunately, even if they felt fear, it was too late. Under such a space-time shackle, they couldn't move at all and couldn't struggle at all. Bam! The claw slammed onto the bodies of these abominations. The terrifying power instantly smashed these abominations into dust. It was like a crushing machine that crushed all matter into dust. However, these were abominations after all. Even though their bodies were smashed into dust, they were still very active. They continued to squirm in the void, and it seemed as though they could return to their original state in a single breath's time. This was one of the terrifying characteristics of abominations. They were almost indestructible. Ordinary abyssal demons couldn't kill these abominations even after expending a lot of energy. It was a pity that they met their nemesis today. The power of the infernal golden crow flames could incinerate almost everything. Even the abominations couldn't withstand the power of the infernal golden crow flames. Burn! Xia Ping gently squeezed his hand, and the infernal golden crow's power that was left on the abomination's body was instantly ignited. The enormous dark golden flames used the abomination's body as fuel and instantly burned. Ah! These abominations let out shrill screams at the same time. They were even more miserable than pigs being slaughtered. Every single cell in their bodies was being burned by the infernal golden crow's flames. In just a breath's time, these abominations that gave countless abyssal demons headaches were all burned to ashes in that instant. Not even their corpses were left. Huh! When all the abominations were killed, Xia Ping's figure flashed. His divine sense had sensed that there seemed to be something left on the abominations after he killed them. Even the hell golden crow fire could not burn these things in a short amount of time. This is a divine stone. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He immediately saw 20 to 30 fingernail-sized golden crystals lying quietly on the ground. They were hexagonal in shape and emitted a faint golden glow. At the same time, he could sense wisps of divine power from these divine stones. It was even divine power that came from the god. It was extremely pure and without any impurities. He realized that the infernal golden crow cells in his body were emitting a desire. It was as though they were attracted by the aura of these divine powers and wanted nothing more than to devour all these divine stones. Unbelievable! Xia Ping waved his hand and immediately picked up these divine stones. He scrutinized them carefully. He felt that just a fingernail-sized divine stone was comparable to the medicinal power of a sage herb. It was no wonder that the sages of the modern universe and the abyssal demons were so desperate for such a treasure. Oh my god, is this the legendary god stone? This is the first time I've seen such a treasure. Corinne also saw this scene and could not help but jump out. He looked at the divine stone in Xia Ping's hand in amazement. Even though he had lived for a long time, he had never seen a real divine stone. After all, divine stones were a special product born from the Forbidden Darkness Zone. They were basically in the hands of invincible sages. Even the ancient sages only had a few. The previous sages were too weak. How could they have seen divine stones? It's so beautiful. It's said that it contains the power of the blood of the gods or a wisp of divine power. I wonder what will happen to the spirit herbs if they are used to grow them? The green ox also came out, looking excited. As a grandmaster in growing spirit herbs, he immediately wanted to grind these divine stones and use them as fertilizer to grow sage herbs. What a waste of natural resources! Corinne disdainfully said, "What a bumpkin! This is a divine stone that contains divine blood or divine power. You actually want to use divine blood to grow sage herbs. Only you can think of it. I estimate that even in the previous universe era, the age of gods, they were not as extravagant as you. What do you know? You have never seen a divine stone. What's wrong with me using it to grow spirit herbs? Do you have any good way to make good use of divine stones?" The green ox went crazy with anger. Of course it's for me to evolve. After I swallow a lot of divine stones, maybe I can be promoted to a divine tool. Corinne said excitedly. Bullshit, even if it's used to evolve into a divine tool, it's for me to evolve the classic of mountains and seas. Giving it to you is really a waste of natural resources. The green ox chuckled. He knew that this silly cat was up to no good. It turned out that she wanted to keep it for herself. If this silly cat really evolved into a divine tool, Wouldn't it be showing off in front of him all day long, showing off its prowess? Thinking of this scene, he was so angry that he couldn't sleep. What's wrong? You're not convinced? Why don't we fight? Corinne cast a sidelong glance. Let's fight. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The green ox immediately flipped out. With his violent temper, he really couldn't tolerate this silly cat for even a second. Okay, you guys go back. It seems that there are abyssal demons coming. Xia Ping's heart moved. He seemed to have sensed something. In the distance, a terrifying abyssal demon's aura was flying over. He immediately pushed back Corinne and the green ox, who were planning to attack, and returned to the classic of mountains and seas world, lest these two guys cause trouble for him and let other abyssal demons discover that something was wrong. Sogu website. Chapter 2754. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In an instant, 15 immemorial realm demons flew over from afar. They seemed to have sensed the aura here and were rushing over quickly. In just an instant, they descended in front of Xia Ping, unscrupulously displaying the power of the immemorial fiendish demons. They seemed to be able to crush the sky. Well, isn't this kid Flower Devil Austin? What a coincidence to meet this kid here. An immemorial fiendish demon immediately noticed Xia Ping in front of him. What happened to Flower Devil Austin had already spread across the square and was known by countless immemorial fiendish demons. After all, Flower Devil Austin was pursued by so many powerful female immemorial fiendish demons. He even alarmed Great Elder Emoluan to uphold justice. Now, who didn't know this kid's reputation? Therefore, they immediately recognized Flower Devil Austin. I didn't expect this pretty boy to dare to participate in the grand competition of the Forbidden Abyss. He clearly isn't that strong. Is he here to die? An immemorial fiendish demon laughed. It didn't understand why this kid was so weak and dared to participate in the grand competition of the Forbidden Abyss. It was really a joke. I don't know. Maybe this kid has his own plans. He might even have a certain degree of confidence in leaving the Forbidden Abyss alive. Another immemorial fiendish demon narrowed its eyes and looked Xia Ping up and down. It seemed to be trying to find out what secret Xia Ping had to dare to participate in the grand competition of the Forbidden Abyss. Wait, is the thing in this kid's hand a divine stone produced in the Forbidden Abyss? At this moment, an immemorial fiendish demon immediately noticed the divine stone in Xia Ping's hand. Its eyes immediately lit up with incomparable enthusiasm and excitement. It could feel the aura and majestic energy emitted by the divine stone. The abyssal demon bloodline in its body seemed to be boiling, and it couldn't wait to immediately devour the energy of the divine stone. In fact, the energy contained in the divine stone, whether it came from the abyss, hell, or all the creatures in the universe, had a great desire for God's blood. After all, this was the desire of lower creatures for higher creatures. It originated from the instinct of life evolution. That's right, this is indeed a God stone. I was fortunate enough to see an Abyss King take out a God stone. This is the legendary ore that contains the power of the gods. It's incomparably precious, and even if you have the money, you can't buy it. Basically, the Abyss Kings monopolize this resource, and other demons can't get it. It can't be. How could this kid have divine stones on him? He's just a pretty boy. No matter how favored he is, it's impossible for him to be given a treasure like divine stones. I can only say that this kid's luck is extremely good, the kind that can scare people to death. He probably found a pile of God stones as soon as he came in. Other than that, there's no other explanation. Is your luck good? Now that he has met us, his luck might not be that good. That's right. If you want to obtain and possess treasures, you need strength. Without strength, even if you obtain the treasures, you won't be able to keep them. This isn't a treasure that a weak demon like him can obtain. Many primordial fiendish demons stared at Xia Ping with greed in their eyes. They wanted nothing more than to kill Xia Ping in an instant and snatch all the divine stones from him. Interesting. Are they trying to snatch the divine stones from me? Xia Ping sensed the thoughts of these primordial fiendish demons and instantly smiled. The reason why these primordial fiendish demons didn't attack immediately was probably because they were wary of each other. After all, it wasn't just one primordial fiendish demon who wanted the divine stones, but a total of 15 primordial fiendish demons. Every single one of them wanted the treasures for themselves. It was precisely because of these subtle thoughts that these primordial fiendish demons didn't choose to attack immediately. How dare they snatch our divine stones? Master, kill these demons immediately. No, it's best if you capture all of them and bring them back to the classic of mountains and seas as coolies. The green ox immediately shouted loudly. He was very angry. They actually dared to covet the treasures in their hands. This group of abyssal fiendish demons really didn't know how to write the word death. He had followed Xia Ping for such a long time. As his strength increased step by step, his vision and vision were already different from the past. He didn't even need to care about the primordial fiendish demons anymore. Even if they encountered a super expert like the King of the Abyss, they could still escape easily if they used all their strength. They might even be able to fight for a few rounds. There's no hurry. It's just some divine stones. There should be a lot of them in this forbidden abyss. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. Thinking of this, he waved the divine stones in his hand and instantly threw them into the hands of the strongest scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon. There was no hesitation or sloppiness in his actions. Instantly, the scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon was a little dumbfounded. It hadn't even spoken yet, but this flower demon, Austin, had actually handed over all the divine stones on him. This was the first time in its life that it had encountered such a situation. Subconsciously, it took the divine stones with its large hand. What are you trying to do? The scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon was a little dumbfounded. Demon Commander, as the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. I believe that I'm weak and don't have the qualifications to obtain these divine stones. Therefore, I'm giving them all to you. I hope that you'll accept them. After all, only a powerful demon like you is qualified to monopolize all the divine stones. Other demons don't have such qualifications. Xia Ping smiled slightly, indicating that this was a gift that he was giving to the other party. At the same time, he activated the illusion domain within his body, affecting the emotions of the scarlet-haired primordial demon. Although this kind of power wasn't enough to completely cause the primordial demon to fall into the illusion, it was still enough. However, the power of this smell and the power of illusion could infinitely magnify the other party's desire. Hearing that, the scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon roared with laughter, pleased by the flattery. Not bad, kid. Not bad at all. You can actually tell that I'm the strongest fiendish demon here. At least you know your place. If you were one step slower, I'm afraid I would have killed you with my own hands. It clenched its fists and displayed the boundless power within its body, showing that it was indeed the strongest among this group of primordial demons. Before Xia Ping could say anything, a blue-haired primordial fiendish demon next to him narrowed his eyes and said, "Abbot, don't you think that's a little inappropriate? There are so many godstones here. Are you planning on hogging them all for yourself?" "That's right. There are so many divine stones here. With so many primordial fiendish demons here, we should split them evenly." "That's right, Albert. Did you ask us if you want to take everything for yourself? As the saying goes, everyone gets a share. There's no reason for you to get all the benefits while we don't even get a fart. What kind of joke is this?" The group of primordial fiendish demons glared at the scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon with murderous intent. They had already shifted their attention to the scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon, Abbot. They were completely uninterested in Xia Ping. After all, in their eyes, Xia Ping was just a weak little fiendish demon that wasn't worth mentioning. Sogu website. Chapter 2755. Under normal circumstances, the crimson-haired primordial demon abbot might hesitate and split the divine stones evenly. However, under the control of Xia Ping's illusion domain, his greed was magnified. Coupled with the charm of the divine stones, he had lost all reason. In short, he had lost his mind. "Shut up!" the crimson-haired primordial demon abbot bellowed. "Didn't you hear? These divine stones were given to me by this brat, and he only gave them to the strongest demon. You pieces of trash, you didn't even do anything. You want to rob me of my divine stones with just a few words? You want to split my treasures? What a joke. Do you think you're qualified? That's right. You want to snatch the treasures of other demons with just a few words? If you're so noble, why don't you split your own treasures? These guys are clearly trying to take advantage of us." Xia Ping fanned the flames. Upon hearing this, the crimson-haired primordial demon abbot was in deep thought. He increasingly felt that these primordial demons were crazy. They clearly wanted to split his treasures, but they didn't even want to do anything. "Albert, have you forgotten about the alliance we've formed? We will split the treasures we obtain equally. Are you going back on your word?" A blue-haired primordial demon abbot bellowed. "I'm not going back on my word. You are the ones going back on your word. We signed a contract where the more work, the more rewards. Whoever puts in more effort gets the most treasures. And now you haven't done anything. What right do you have to snatch my divine stones? What a joke. Don't push your luck." The crimson-haired primordial demon abbot sneered. He believed that he wasn't wrong. "Abbot, since that's the case, there's no need for further discussion. You're actually going against us for divine stones. You're courting death. Don't think that you can take all the benefits just because you're slightly stronger than us. Without our help, you'll die in the forbidden abyss. You won't be able to keep these divine stones." These primordial demons were filled with killing intent. They couldn't possibly give up on these divine stones, because if they devoured even one, their strength would increase tremendously. Now that so many divine stones had been obtained by the crimson-haired primordial fiendish demon Albert, if he were to devour all of them, it would be unimaginable how strong Albert would become. Therefore, no matter what, they would absolutely not allow this fellow to monopolize the Godstone, because the benefits of the Godstone were simply too great, and none of them were willing to give it up. "Fools! You want to strut around in front of me, Albert? Trash like you are far too lacking. All of you die." In an instant, the crimson-haired primordial fiendish demon Albert roared angrily. He took out a 3-zhang-long crimson spear from his body. His hair stood on end as a terrifying world domain aura erupted from his body. The scarlet spear was an abyssal treasure. Its power was no less than a high-quality saint artifact of the human race. It even possessed the demonic power and corrosive power of the abyssal world. Its destructive power was even more terrifying. Boom! In an instant, the scarlet-haired primordial fiendish demon's spear shot out at lightning speed and instantly pierced through a primordial fiendish demon that was close to it. Ah! That primordial fiendish demon was caught off guard. He completely did not expect Albert to be so deranged. He did not even bother talking nonsense with it and directly stabbed it to death with his spear. Destructive waves erupted from the scarlet spear. Just like a god-slaying spear, the primordial fiendish demon's soul was instantly pulverized. Even its body was shaken into a lump of flesh and blood and exploded. "Albert, you actually dared to turn against us. You're courting death. You're courting death. Albert has gone completely mad. Kill this fellow. Kill him." The primordial fiendish demons were instantly enraged. How could they have expected something like this to happen? They had not been in for long, and one of their companions had already been stabbed to death. They also did not hesitate to attack. Bam! 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 In an instant, the 14 primordial fiendish demons started fighting. They immediately unleashed the world domains within their bodies. One after another, world projections appeared and bombarded each other. The worlds collided violently, and the void within a radius of tens of billions of kilometers erupted with terrifying tremors. Terrifying void ripples were produced as void cracks burst out. Terrifying void storms were produced in all directions, sweeping through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The ground was instantly blasted apart, and huge craters appeared one after another with loud rumbling sounds. The power of countless laws collided with each other, producing terrifying destructive power. If an ordinary sage were to be swept into the center of this storm, they would probably be torn apart by the power of laws and die without a complete corpse. Swoosh! At this moment, Xia Ping was silent. His figure flickered, and he instantly left the center of the battle. He had long stayed away from the battle between these primordial fiendish demons. And at this time, those primordial fiendish demons had long forgotten that Xia Ping was the instigator of this place. They were practically fighting with all their might, wanting nothing more than to kill each other. Have these demons completely gone mad? Seeing this scene, Corinne was a little dumbfounded. With just a few words, these primordial fiendish demons actually started fighting among themselves, and even their brains were spilling out. They're not crazy. This is the effect of the power of illusion. Xia Ping touched his chin, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, his understanding of the power of illusion had also advanced to another level. After reaching the supreme realm of one thought to give birth to myriad worlds, his understanding of illusion had simply advanced by leaps and bounds. It seemed that he had entered a period of rapid progress. Previously, he had only manipulated the 5 and even the 6 senses, using the power to blind the 6 senses of life to confuse the lives of the various worlds in the universe, causing the other party to fall into an endless world of illusion. But at this moment, he discovered that the power of illusion was not just that. In fact, it had gone one step further, and it should be the power to manipulate emotions. By magnifying the emotions of all living beings, he could easily reach the realm of manipulating life. For example, fear. Mild fear would cause people to be afraid, severe fear would cause people to flee, and extreme fear would cause people to go crazy and fall into a state of hysteria. Another example was greed. Ordinary greed would cause people to forget about danger, severe greed would cause people to forget everything, but extreme greed would cause people to disregard everything. If every emotion was magnified to the extreme, it would lead to destruction, no matter what kind of life it was. The reason why such a thing happened just now was not only because Xia Ping had sowed dissension, but also because he had manipulated the emotions of these primordial fiendish demons, causing their greed to be magnified without limit. This was like a fuse that instantly made them turn against each other, and they were simply unable to resist it. They even thought that this was what they wanted to do, and never thought that they would be manipulated by someone. Sogu Reading Website. Chapter 2756. The Power to Control Emotions, or the Power to Control the 7 Emotions and 6 Emotions. Xia Ping seemed to be in a state of epiphany. He felt that his understanding of illusions had reached a new level. If he wanted to make illusions more realistic, he had to manipulate the emotions of the living beings in the myriad world. In fact, just the memories, the 5 senses, the history, and the environment were far from enough for an illusionary world. Every living being had their own emotions, be it joy, anger, sadness, jealousy, or inferiority. Every living being had a stomachache. Without mastering the power of emotions, how could he improve his illusions to the next level? At this moment, he also knew how he should improve his illusions. If he wanted to improve further, he had to devour the power of emotions of many living beings. By fusing the power of emotions into the illusion, his illusion god art would reach a new level and reach an unprecedented level. Wait, is this the power of emotions, or the power of emotions? Xia Ping's sea of consciousness shook vaguely. He operated the true explanation of illusions, and countless illusion runes appeared in the depths of his pupils. Through this power, He seemed to sense all kinds of strong emotional powers in the depths of the void. The power of lust. These powers were illusory. Ordinary saints could not sense them and could not even devour them. However, they were everywhere and extremely huge. As long as there were living beings, there would be the power of lust. Indistinctly, colorful emotional lines appeared in the depths of the void. They were everywhere. If he wanted to improve his illusions, he had to use the lust of living beings as his foundation and feed on their emotions. Only then could his illusions reach the highest level. The power of emotions of the 14 immemorial fiendish demons was even greater. It was many times greater than that of ordinary living beings. It was almost impossible to measure it with numbers. After all, the more powerful a living being was, the more powerful the power of emotions they possessed would be. Xiaoping merely stood where he was. With his body as the center, there seemed to be a whirlpool. The omnipresent power of emotions crazily surged toward his body. In the center of his sea of consciousness, an illusion rune appeared. This was the divine ability seed condensed by the true explanation of illusions. It was the foundation of all his illusions. This illusion talisman shone with 7 colors and was filled with an illusory aura. However, if one used his divine sense to penetrate it, he would immediately perceive that there were dense and mysterious runes in the depths of this talisman. It was as if a supreme scripture was engraved on this talisman, dissecting the endless mysteries of illusions. As the immense power of emotions surged over, it was completely devoured by the illusion talisman. Meanwhile, the power of the illusion talisman was rapidly increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Vaguely, the interior of the talisman seemed to have transformed into a massive illusory world. As the power of these emotions entered it, it quickly transformed into countless lives. At this moment, the illusion talisman seemed to have transformed into an illusory world. It was as if countless false lives were being born, and they all seemed to have their own emotions. The power to devour all beings? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought of the legendary Lord of Hell, the god of the underworld who controlled the entire hell. In order to rule over hell, he divided the countless hellish world. However, these hellish worlds were not randomly divided. There was the hell of wrath, the hell of pride, the hell of greed, the hell of sloth, the hell of sigh, the hell of gluttony, and so on. Countless nether ghosts, evil spirits, demons, and so on lived in these hellish worlds. Each hellish world was filled with extreme emotions, extreme evil, and incomparably pure. From a certain point of view, this was most likely the result of the Lord of Hell using the hell power of countless nether ghosts and demons as food to forge his supreme god of the underworld body and become the strongest demon god. Dong. At this moment, Xiaoping's body trembled. He discovered that his current realm of illusions had improved. He had reached the intermediate realm of one thought to give birth to myriad worlds. He had already left the elementary realm. Previously, he could only instantly create 10 illusory worlds. But now, he could create 100 illusory worlds with a single thought. His illusions had increased tenfold. This is an illusory seed, an illusory talisman? Xiaoping's divine sense was immersed in this illusory seed. He could sense that if this illusory talisman continued to evolve, the space inside would undergo earth-shattering changes. Perhaps this illusory talisman would transform into a godhead and grasp the power of a true god. He could instinctively sense how tyrannical this ability was. It would definitely become one of his trump cards in the future. The potential of such an ability was simply unimaginable. Huh! So fast? Are these primordial fiendish demons about to die? At this moment, Xiaoping instantly broke away from this illusory comprehension. His divine sense covered the void in all directions, allowing him to see the situation around him. Although it seemed like only a moment had passed while he was comprehending, in reality, this was just his perception. Half a day had passed in the outside world. In just half a day, The 15 primordial fiendish demons fought with all their might. The area within a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers collapsed, and the void almost exploded. That primordial fiendish demon Albert was outnumbered. In just an hour he was beaten to death. The other primordial fiendish demons divided up his treasures and divine stones. But this was just the beginning. Later, they couldn't divide the spoils evenly and internal strife broke out. They fought each other to the death. In just half a day they almost perished together. Only 3 primordial fiendish demons were left alive. The other primordial fiendish demons were killed by the other primordial fiendish demons in the internal strife. Even if there were 3 primordial fiendish demons left alive, they were seriously injured and almost at their last gasp. The illusory ability is really terrifying. When Azure Ox and Corinne saw this scene, both of them sighed with lingering fear. Just now there were 15 primordial fiendish demons. If they wanted to deal with them, they would have to spend a lot of effort. But now, Xiaoping just used an illusory technique to arouse the emotions of these primordial fiendish demons. It actually achieved the effect of defeating 1,000 caddies with little effort, causing these primordial fiendish demons to have internal strife and kill each other. As a result, almost all of the 15 primordial fiendish demons died, leaving only 2 or 3 primordial fiendish demons. Even if Azure Ox and Corinne were experienced and knowledgeable, they were still shocked by this ability. Because this ability was not only powerful, but also extremely strange. It was silent and almost difficult to detect. Even if they were plotted against, it would be difficult for other sages to know. This was the terrifying part of this ability. Chapter 2757. Just then, Xiaoping stopped hiding as well. His figure flashed and he walked out of the void, appearing in front of the remaining 3 primordial fiendish demons. What? Initially, the 3 primordial fiendish demons were on guard against each other. They were panting heavily, guarding against any sneak attacks. But now that another fiendish demon had appeared, they were truly shocked. But when they saw Xiaoping's figure, their pupils constricted as they recognized Xiaoping's identity immediately. Flower Demon Austin. The 3 primordial fiendish demons glared at Xiaoping and gritted their teeth. Their voices were filled with endless hatred. If not for this lad, they would have been an extremely united group. But after meeting this lad, just because he handed over a pile of God's stones, it caused their small group to have an internal strife, killing each other endlessly. By now, most of the primordial fiendish demons around them had died, leaving only the 3 of them. If not for this flower demon Austin, they wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. In fact, they could vaguely sense that something was amiss. It's been hard on you guys to experiment for such a long time. I'll send you guys back to the abyss in a while. Don't worry, it'll be quick. It'll just take an instant. Xiaoping looked at the 3 primordial fiendish demons calmly. It's you. It's really you, you be *starred. Damned flower demon Austin, what did you do to us earlier on? One of the primordial fiendish demons hollered. He wasn't a fool either. After all, no matter how greedy they were, there was a limit. If they were to suffer a certain loss, they would regain their rationality and choose to stop. But that wasn't the case earlier on. They didn't stop even after killing each other. If not for the fact that they were affected by the enemy's sorcery, this wouldn't have happened. It doesn't matter what you did. What's important is that you guys no longer have the right to speak loudly in front of me. Xiaoping said. You ant-like flower demon, do you think that we can't kill you just because we're injured? What a joke. Even if I'm severely injured, it's still a piece of cake for me to crush a puny flower demon like you. One of the primordial fiendish demons hollered. With a boom, it burst out from where it was and blasted a punch toward Xiaoping. It was as if the boundless destructive power of a world had erupted from its body. Its fist also covered a world domain, crushing over and shattering the vacuum. Even though it was heavily injured, it was still an immemorial demon that understood the laws of the world. The power it could unleash was no small matter. It was not something an immortal demon could compare to. Sometimes, an injured beast was even scarier. However, they weren't facing undying demons, but rather saints who had already reached the peak of the ancient times. Even if they were at their peak, Xia Ping could still beat them to death. Not to mention the severely injured primordial fiendish demons that only had a few of them left. Dong. Xia Ping stood where he was and gently stretched out his right hand. In an instant, he pinched the primordial demon's fist. It was as though all the strength was swallowed up by his palm, and all the strength turned into nothingness. How is this possible? The primordial fiendish demon's eyes widened in disbelief. After all, it was an immemorial fiendish demon. Even if it was a heavily injured attack, it should be able to easily shatter the body of an immortal demon. However, Austin, the flower demon, had easily blocked its fist that contained the laws of the world. It had never encountered such a thing before. Nothing is impossible. Who told you that I'm an immortal demon? Xia Ping gently clenched his fist. Boundless dermic powers erupted from his body, forming a terrifying domain. In an instant, the primordial fiendish demon's body was wrapped up, forming a sphere and compressing it inwards. Boom! In the next second, the primordial fiendish demon did not even have the chance to scream. In an instant, it was smashed into a ball of flesh and blood. Even its soul was crushed into bits. With just a gentle shake, the primordial fiendish demon exploded like a watermelon. At this moment, the surging dermic powers in Xia Ping's body could be said to be boundless. It was no longer something an ordinary primordial fiendish demon could compare with. He was probably infinitely close to a demigod expert. Just by using the boundless dermic powers in his body, he could easily crush a primordial fiendish demon. Flower demon, Austin, you're not an immortal demon. The remaining two primordial fiendish demons narrowed their eyes and let out a sharp glint. Instantly they came to their senses. At this moment, they could clearly tell that this flower demon, Austin, was not an immortal demon. The strength of this lad was far beyond their imagination. If this wasn't the case, how could their companion be crushed so easily? Based on their senses, this lad should have at least reached the immemorial ancient state, or even the immemorial ancient state. Despicable fella! To think that you would hide your strength. What are you plotting? What are you trying to do? Shameless flower demon! How dare you commit such despicable acts? Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Do you still have any dignity as a demon? The two primordial fiendish demons could not believe that the flower demon, Austin, was already a match for them. This was just like a rabbit suddenly growing into an elephant. Even now, they could not accept this fact. If they had known of this earlier, they would definitely have joined forces to kill this lad. It wouldn't be too late to split the spoils after that. But it was a pity that they had suffered countless casualties from their internal strife. Not only that, they were severely injured as well. They no longer had the strength to deal with this flower demon, Austin. Dignity? Strength is the true dignity of a demon. Do you guys know why you lost? It's because of your arrogance. Xia Ping looked at the two primordial fiendish demons calmly. A horrifying power of creation shrouded the void in all directions. It was as though the realm of creation was binding these two primordial fiendish demons. The omnipresent power of creation was changing the physical world and permeating through the void. Run! Instantly, the hairs on the two primordial fiendish demons stood up. They could feel a lethal killing intent. They exchanged glances and split off in two directions, trying to escape. But the moment they made their move, Xia Ping struck out. Fast as lightning, he punched out with a fist that contained a boundless amount of power that could break through the void. Bam! At this moment, the bodies of the two primordial fiendish demons exploded with a single punch from Xia Ping. Their bodies were like watermelons that were smashed into smithereens. Their flesh and blood scattered all over the ground as though they were worthless. The dozens of god stones that they had snatched away earlier on fell onto the ground and returned to Xia Ping's hands once more. At this moment, all 15 primordial fiendish demons had died tragically in this place. Not a single one of them could leave this place alive. Xing xing xing. Xia Ping waved his hand and scooped up the flesh and blood of these primordial fiendish demons for the world tree to devour. Chapter 2758. Come out. At this moment, Xia Ping glanced sideways and spoke to an empty space in the distance. He had already seen the demons hiding in the depths of the void there. However, they did not attack him, so he could not be bothered. Now that he had dealt with the primordial fiendish demons, he needed to deal with the surrounding witnesses. After all, he could not reveal his strength for the time being and let the other abyssal demons know. Still not coming out? Do you think your concealment ability is strong enough, or do you think I'm bluffing? Xia Ping raised his eyebrows and punched the void. Boom! This punch was extremely terrifying and contained the power of creation. It instantly changed the laws of space and time in the surroundings. The void in front of him shattered like glass and completely shattered. With a crack, 3 or 4 figures appeared in the distance. Xia Ping also recognized the abyssal demons. They were the dark spider demon Catherine, the white-faced fox demon, the succubus, the scarlet scorpion demon, and the other abyssal demonesses. He did not know when they had gathered together, but they had actually come to his side. Austin, you actually discovered our whereabouts? Catherine, the dark spider demon, was taken aback. She looked at Xia Ping in disbelief. According to her understanding, Flower Demon Austin shouldn't have such strength. However, this was not the case. Not only had he killed 3 primordial fiendish demons with one punch, but he had also used schemes and strange abilities to kill the other 12 primordial fiendish demons. He could even easily discover their existence. One had to know that she was the dark spider demon Catherine. She was born with the mystique of the darkness realm and could easily merge her body and aura into the depths of the void. Once she used the darkness realm and merged into the abyssal void, even an abyssal king would find it difficult to discover her traces. However, the flower demon Austin had easily discovered her. It seemed that her darkness realm could not hide from him at all. She felt that Austin had completely changed. He was completely different from the Austin that she knew. It was as if he was a different demon. Of course I found out. No abyssal demon can hide from me. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back and said matter-of-factly. Austin, when did you become so powerful? 15 immemorial fiendish demons were fooled by you and died so easily. This is definitely not the strength of an ordinary flower demon. Just when did you obtain such powerful strength, or were you hiding it from all the fiendish demons? Are you really this powerful? The white-faced fox fiend was extremely curious. From what she knew, flower demon Austin shouldn't have such power. He was just a pretty boy, a weak little fiendish demon that people loved. But now it was completely different. His body exuded an unprecedentedly powerful abyssal devil chi. He had the demeanor of a king, and he was not the slightest bit inferior to the abyssal kings. This kind of domineering and arrogant aura also made her heart beat endlessly. It had an extraordinary charm. No, he shouldn't be the flower devil Austin. He should be another demon from the abyss. Who are you? Why are you pretending to be the flower devil Austin? Where did the real flower devil Austin go? The succubus narrowed her eyes and stared at Xia Ping. She began to doubt Xia Ping's true identity, because in her memories, the real flower devil Austin definitely did not have such strength. Therefore, the only explanation was that this was a fake flower devil Austin. Interesting. If he's fake, how did he hide from the soul inspection of the Devil Demon Palace? Even an abyssal king can't hide from such inspection. The Scarlet Scorpion Demon stared at Xia Ping curiously. What a bunch of troublesome women. I didn't want to do anything to you at first, but I didn't expect all of you to be so smart. Don't you know that curiosity killed the cat? Xia Ping looked at the group of abyssal demonesses helplessly. Interesting. Does Austin want to fight us? This is really interesting. I never thought that Austin would dare to have such thoughts. Don't tell me you think we're the same as those trash from before? Do you want to use your little tricks against us? Let me tell you, it's useless. Austin, it doesn't matter if you're the real Austin or a fake Austin. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know who the boss of the abyss is. Hearing this, the dark spider demon Catherine and the other abyssal demonesses immediately laughed. They did not think that Flower Devil Austin was a match for them. Even if he had hidden his strength, it was still impossible for him to defeat them. Moreover, the reason why Austin was able to win previously was purely because he used schemes and tricks. If he had not used tricks to cause the 15 primordial fiendish demons to kill each other, causing them to kill themselves and the remaining 3 to be seriously injured, Austin would definitely not have won. In a head-on battle, they did not think that Flower Devil Austin had any chance of winning. Women, you're too arrogant. Xia Ping looked at the group of abyssal demonesses calmly. Boom! In an instant, a huge illusory power exploded from his body. He used the power of the true insight of illusion. One illusory world after another condensed and instantly enveloped the abyssal demonesses. Moreover, the casting speed of the illusory art was far faster than other spells. It could be done with just a thought. This speed was even faster than the speed of light. What? The dark spider demon Catherine and the other abyssal demonesses were shocked. They instantly felt a huge illusory power seeping into their souls. It seemed like it wanted to pull them into the illusory world and sink them completely. Funny Austin. You think you can deal with us with mere illusory power? You're underestimating us. The dark spider demon Catherine sneered. She immediately wanted to use abyssal power in an attempt to shatter the illusory world and break free from it. But this was just the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. 20 illusory worlds crushed down at the same time. In an instant, the dark spider demon Catherine was completely sealed. As for the other abyssal demonesses, such as the white-faced fox demon, succubus demon, scarlet scorpion demon, and so on, they were easily suppressed and sealed by just 18, 17, or 15 illusory worlds. They were instantly dumbfounded. They could not move at all. Their surroundings were sealed by countless illusory runes. They could not use any abyssal power in their bodies. They fell into a deep sleep and could not discover what was happening in the outside world. Interesting. Just 20 illusory worlds and they can't resist it? Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back. He looked calmly at the dark spider demon Catherine and the other abyssal demonesses who had fallen into the illusory world. Chapter 2759. One should know that Xia Ping's power of illusion had reached a new realm. With a single thought, he could cast up to 100 illusory worlds. This was equivalent to 100 layers of illusory seals. If he used his full power, 100 illusory worlds would stack up at the same time and seal layer by layer. Even a demon that had just entered the demigod realm would faint for a moment, let alone other abyssal demons of other levels. For abyssal demons below the immemorial ancient realm, one illusory world would be enough to make them sink into oblivion for eternity. As for the dark spider demon Catherine and the other demonesses, the fact that they could withstand 20 illusory world seals was enough to prove that they were indeed very strong and far surpassed other abyssal demons. If not for that, they definitely wouldn't be able to withstand such a powerful illusory power. But even so, they were completely sealed by Xia Ping. If Xia Ping wasn't willing, they probably wouldn't be able to walk out of the illusory world even after billions of years. If someone used their consciousness power, they would be able to sense that there were 10 to 20 layers of illusory seals in the depths of their consciousness. Each layer of illusory seals was an illusory world. Such illusory worlds were layered on top of one another. It was extremely complicated and formed a cycle. The power of illusion is really powerful. Xia Ping was filled with emotions. Just now, he was just testing his skills. To think that he could easily seal these demonesses who had reached the pinnacle of the immemorial ancient realm. If he were to use other martial path mystiques, he would probably need to use his fists and legs. But the power of illusion was different. Whether it succeeded or not depended on a single thought. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the victor would be decided. If he could block it, he would live. If he couldn't, he would die. This was an extremely fast and efficient mystique. Of course, at the same time, the risk was extremely high. If he couldn't control the other party, he would probably be devoured. Luckily, Xia Ping wasn't a pure illusionist. In fact, he was still a martial artist. If illusions didn't work, he could still use his fists to fight. This was much better than ordinary illusionist. This bunch of demonesses is really troublesome. It doesn't seem good to kill them. Forget it, I'll capture them all and bring them back to the classic of mountains and seas world as coolies. This is the price you have to pay for being too curious. Xia Ping stroked his chin and waved his hand. With a swoosh, he instantly captured the dark spider demon Catherine and the other demonesses and imprisoned them in the world of the classic of mountains and seas. In this way, there were no other witnesses around, and his identity could be kept a secret for the time being. Whoosh! After doing this, Xia Ping's figure flashed and he quickly left the battlefield. After all, with so many primordial fiendish demons fighting here, the destruction caused would definitely attract the attention of other primordial fiendish demons. If he continued to stay in this place, he was afraid that he would be discovered by other primordial fiendish demons that were rushing over. He did not want to meet other primordial fiendish demons for now. No matter what, his biggest goal at the moment was to explore the secrets of the Abyss world, not to destroy these primordial fiendish demons. Of course, if this group of primordial fiendish demons didn't have any eyes, it wouldn't be a problem for them to kill them along the way. In the blink of an eye, Xia Ping's figure quickly disappeared from this place. Not long after Xia Ping left this place, dozens of primordial fiendish demons immediately flew over from afar. They had all sensed the fluctuations of the battle here and rushed over curiously to see what was going on. Indeed, there was a battle between 15 primordial fiendish demons here, and it was extremely tragic. It was the kind that would not stop until one of them died. A hound primordial fiendish demon's nose twitched slightly as it smelled the scent that filled the depths of the void. It seemed as though it could sense countless things that had happened in the past just by smelling it. What exactly caused such a tragic battle between them? Could it be to snatch treasures? A fiendish demon asked. That's right. They seem to be fighting amongst themselves for the divine stones obtained in this place. The hound primordial fiendish demon said in a low voice. I see. Many primordial fiendish demons nodded. Although they were currently living in the Abyss continent that was filled with order, as fiendish demons, their aggressive blood had not disappeared. Once they broke away from order, they would fight in a frenzy. Killing each other for the sake of treasures? That was really too child's play. Before the Demonlord appeared, such things happened every day in the Abyss world. In that case, who is the winner? A fiendish demon asked. There's no winner. They're all dead. The hound primordial fiendish demon said. What? All the primordial fiendish demons present were taken aback. This was a little strange. Even if they were fighting for treasures, there should be a winner. Not only was there no winner, but the corpses of the 15 primordial fiendish demons had also disappeared. It seems like there's a third fiendish demon that's reaping the benefits. A primordial fiendish demon said thoughtfully. There's indeed a third fiendish demon. Moreover, it's extremely cunning. I can't sense any aura from it, so I can't tell its identity. The hound primordial fiendish demon shook its head, indicating that even with its bloodline mystique, it couldn't figure out its identity. That fiendish demon that was reaping the benefits was simply too cunning. There might even be a fourth fiendish demon. The hound primordial fiendish demon added. It could also sense the aura of the dark spider demon, Catherine, and the other female fiendish demons. However, it was just a little and it couldn't confirm their identities. It's just a few divine stones, yet they're causing so many factions to fight each other to the death. This is a muddy water, let's not get involved. Since that's the case, let's go. There's no need to continue staying here. A primordial fiendish demon spoke. He seemed to be the leader of this group of primordial fiendish demons. Alright. The other primordial fiendish demons nodded, because this was a very normal thing in the Forbidden Abyss. This was a competition in the Forbidden Abyss, and there was no prohibition against killing each other. If he died in this place, he wouldn't be held accountable. Instead, it was a matter of course. Moreover, a dead immemorial fiendish demon was of no value to them. They did not know the other party, and were not familiar with those immemorial fiendish demons. There was no need to take revenge for such an unfamiliar immemorial fiendish demon. Of course, if they could find the primordial fiendish demon that had profited from the fight, they might even make a move to snatch the treasures of the primordial fiendish demon and eliminate the other party from the Forbidden Abyss. However, they couldn't even find the other party's identity or aura, so there was no need for them to stay here any longer. After all, the most important thing in entering the Forbidden Abyss was to find the treasures inside. They didn't have much time to waste here. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. With that, these abyssal fiendish demons rapidly left this place. Sogu website. Chapter 2760. In a secluded mountain in the Forbidden Abyss. Xia Ping was currently hiding in this place. He had entered the world of the classic of mountains and seas, and was temporarily cultivating in seclusion. Although the grand competition of the Forbidden Abyss had only been going on for 3 months, he had not entered the grand competition of the Forbidden Abyss to get a high ranking. He only wanted to explore the secrets of the Abyss. Therefore, he did not need to be like the other abyssal demons, who risked their lives to plunder treasures everywhere just to improve their ranking. Moreover, if he wanted to discover more secrets, he would probably need more power. Therefore, after obtaining these godstones, Xia Ping wanted to use them to increase his own power. Boom! Xia Ping sat cross-legged on the ground. With his body as the center, a domineering domain of creation spread out in all directions. It was filled with the laws of space, time, and creation. The power of many laws constantly circulated in the domain, constantly producing a domineering power of creation that changed the physical world. Godstones! Without another word, Xia Ping immediately used his magic power to refine the godstones. Immediately, the godstones were incinerated by the crucible of hell. They quickly turned into majestic energy that surged into his body and into every cell. Whoosh! In an instant after obtaining the power of the godstones, his cultivation rose at a geometrical rate. It was as if every cell was filled with majestic magic power. Most importantly, the creation domain on his body had also begun to undergo a series of transformations. The laws of space, time, and creation continued to revolve. Vaguely, they seemed to create a huge crystal wall, causing the domain of creation to form a spatial barrier. These spatial crystal walls were the precondition for the birth of the laws of the world. It was as if at this moment, Xia Ping's domain of creation had begun to transform into a domain of the world, condensing the laws of the world. If he really succeeded in condensing the laws of the world and stepped into the Archean realm, then Xia Ping's strength would immediately undergo earth-shattering changes. His power would also increase by thousands of times. At that time, every inch of his flesh and every cell would evolve into a miniature world, and his body would be tempered to an extremely powerful level. At this level, every single cell in his body would be a miniature world. If he were to activate it with all his might, the magic power of billions of worlds would explode at the same time. The power of the explosion could be imagined. In fact, this was the terror of an Archean saint who had comprehended the laws of the world. A saint of this realm was much, much stronger than a creation saint. Just the changes that happened to their bodies and the amount of magic power they could store were far beyond what a creator saint could compare to. Of course, ancient sages didn't just have powers that far surpassed ancient sages. Most importantly, they had condensed the laws of the world, so they had the power of the world. If he used his own world force to power the saint artifact, he would be able to unleash 70% to 80% of the saint artifact's battle prowess. The destructive power that could be unleashed was no laughing matter. In fact, if a supreme saint artifact were to be powered by the power of the world, the might that it could exert would far surpass that of the ancient sages. If Xia Ping advanced to the primordial realm and condensed the power of a world, his peerless sacred artifacts, the classic of mountains and seas, the formless palace, and the primordial heavenly dragon talisman would be able to exhibit strength several times stronger than before. In fact, when he was using the god weapons, he would be able to use them with even greater ease. This was a qualitative change and improvement. To begin with, Xia Ping had already advanced to the immemorial ancient full cultivation state and had comprehended the laws of creation completely. The foundation of his body was extremely sturdy, and he already had the foundation to advance to the primordial realm. I'll give it a try to advance to the primordial realm then. Xia Ping's eyes shone with a glint. In truth, he really wanted to advance to the primordial realm right now so that his creation territory could metamorphose into a world territory and condense the laws of the world. If he were to condense the laws of the world and deploy the world territory, every single move he made would be filled with a terrifying power of the world. A single punch would be enough to destroy a large world in an instant. More importantly, when the world territory shrouded down, he could suppress other sages with ease, trapping them within his own large world. Even if he were to use 100% of his strength, under the suppression of the world territory, he would only be left with 50%. Therefore, the outcome was as one could imagine. Under the power of the world territory, the sages who had condensed the laws of the world were practically undefeatable. Of course, the power of the world was also much stronger than the power of creation. It could crush the power of creation with ease. The difference between the two was like cotton and steel. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Basically, without the support of an extremely powerful saint weapon, it was impossible for the ancient sages to win against the primordial sages. They would definitely be killed instantly by the primordial sages. After all, a freak of the world like Xia Ping was a monster that would not appear even once in a trillion epochs. He would not appear in the universe so casually and simply. Most of the ancient sages could only flee when they encountered the primordial sages, not daring to fight back at all. Let's begin. At this moment, Xia Ping circulated the creation territory on his body and sat within it. It was as if he was a pillar that held up the heavens, supporting the world. Boom! In an instant, the entire creation territory shook violently and buzzed. It was as if it was vibrating at a rate of trillions of times. Countless laws began to circulate wildly. Space laws, time laws, creation laws, undying qi, and all sorts of other powers entangled together, forming a whirlpool. It was as if there were trillions of changes in the void laws. It was filled with endless mysteries of the laws, symbolizing the laws of everything in the universe. As the laws of the creation territory began to circulate, the massive amount of origin energy within his body began to be consumed rapidly. It was as if it was disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Every time Xia Ping circulated the laws on his body, the amount of origin energy consumed was staggering. This amount of energy was enough to support the operation of a large world for several years. It could be said that the amount of energy consumed each time it circulated was astronomical. It was a little like a space battleship. Just by activating it once, the amount of money consumed was unimaginable. If it wasn't a universe kingdom, it would be hard for them to withstand such consumption. It was the same logic. The amount of origin energy needed to advance from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm was simply unimaginable. In reality, even if one were to attempt to break through to the immemorial ancient realm, the amount of origin energy needed was astronomical. Therefore, ordinary immemorial sages would basically not attempt to break through to the immemorial ancient realm casually. It was because they couldn't afford it at all. Only when they were fully prepared would they choose to attempt to break through to the immemorial ancient realm. They would then gather the laws of the world and transform their creation territory into the world territory. Chapter 2761. However, this kind of thing was actually understandable. Try to imagine this. An immemorial ancient full cultivation state expert had to cultivate for billions of eras before he could accumulate enough source energy of the universe. However, after a few rounds of impact, the source energy would be depleted cleanly and turned into nothingness. Moreover, these attempts might not necessarily succeed. If he wanted to continue accumulating enough origin energy, it would probably take the ancient sages billions of years to accumulate it. The amount of time needed was not something a mortal could imagine. Even though the ancient sages had an endless lifespan, it was still difficult for them to endure such a loss of time. In fact, as one tried to break through again and again, the probability of breaking through would become lower and lower, and the bottleneck would become more and more terrifying, making it difficult to break through to the Archean realm. Therefore, every time the ancient sages attempted to break through to the archaic realm, they had to be extremely cautious. If they didn't have absolute confidence, they would choose to continue cultivating and solidify their foundations. However, Xia Ping was different. First of all, he was very rich. From this time's forbidden area of the abyss, he had obtained 20 to 30 divine stones. Each of the divine stones contained an astonishing amount of origin energy, which far exceeded the medicinal power of ordinary sacred medicines. Moreover, he also had many world fruits condensed from the world tree. Each world fruit was filled with majestic energy and a large number of world law fragments. The amount of origin energy contained in a world fruit would probably take an ancient saint billions of eras to accumulate. This was a huge difference. With this majestic energy, Xia Ping had the capital to squander as he pleased. He did not need to be as stingy as other sages, who needed a long time to try once. This was just like how a rich person did business. With hundreds of millions of dollars, they could squander it at will. Even if one business failed and they lost millions, they could continue doing 10 more businesses until they succeeded. Once he succeeded, he would be able to make up for all his previous losses. However, it was different for the poor. If such a business failed even once, it would be beyond redemption. It was unknown how long it would take to complete the original accumulation. This is the difference between the rich and the poor. The laws of space, the laws of time, the laws of creation, the aura of agelessness. Xia Ping circulated the magic power in his body. At that moment, he had an inexplicable realization in the depths of his sea of consciousness. The law of space established the foundation of the world's spatial barrier, forming the outer shell of the world, turning into a crystal wall that enveloped the surroundings. The law of time allowed this world to be divided into the 4 seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, giving rise to many changes. The law of creation created endless matter, giving birth to mountains, rivers, deserts, and valleys, forming the material world. The undying energy formed the air, bringing life to all things in this world, formlessly flowing about. All of this formed a complete world. Crash, the creation domain in Xia Ping's body seemed to have turned into a chaotic state. It constantly revolved and condensed. At this moment, the laws of time, space, creation, and other laws seemed to be condensing into one and started to give birth. Within the creation domain, there seemed to be a giant sun furnace. Boundless flames burned, as though it was refining the entire creation domain and removing impurities. Vaguely, he sensed that his creation domain seemed to have formed many crystal walls around it, enveloping the domain in all directions. It seemed to have formed a firm world. This was originally an illusory domain of creation, but at this moment, under the operation of countless laws, it gradually turned from illusory to reality, forming the embryonic form of a world. It was like a house with a foundation, walls, and a roof. This was a rough house, but it was many times better than the previous one. But even so, he had not advanced to the archaic realm, so he could not condense the laws of the world. However, under such an impact, the 30 divine stones that he had obtained this time were all used up. Not a single drop of energy was left. One had to know that the energy of a divine stone was unbelievably huge. It was enough for an ancient sage to break through to the archaic realm, and 30 divine stones were enough for him to break through 30 times. But Xia Ping was different. Just one attempt had used up the energy of 30 divine stones. One could imagine that his consumption of origin energy was not something other sages could compare to. Originally, Xia Ping had wanted to try breaking through again, wanting to completely condense the laws of the world and step into the archaic realm. But no matter how much he revolved his magic power, he could not condense the laws of the world. He was clearly only one step away, but this step was like a natural chasm that he could not cross. Looks like I'm still lacking something. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He knew that he had broken through to the archaic realm and condensed the laws of the world not because he had not accumulated enough, nor was it because he had not prepared enough origin energy, but because he was lacking something, a crucial factor, which caused him to fail to break through to the archaic realm. This also caused him to temporarily be unable to condense the laws of the world. Indeed, now that I've reached the archaic realm, condensing the laws of the world and forming the realm of the world isn't that simple. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. To be honest, he had expected this to happen. After all, he had only reached the full cultivation of the archaic realm for a short period of time. He was most likely still lacking some understanding of the laws of the world. This also caused him to not have a deep understanding of the laws of the world. That was why he had failed this time around. But this also proved that it was not that easy to break through to the archaic realm. If it were that easy, then the streets would be filled with archaic sages, and there wouldn't be so many ancient sages in the universe who were stuck at this realm, unable to break through even after billions of eras. But even so, he still had no way of breaking through to the archaic realm. But after this round of tempering, he had a deeper understanding of the laws of the world, which provided him with experience for his next breakthrough. Moreover, this round of tempering had caused his realm of creation to solidify completely. His cultivation base had increased once again, and his powers and bloodline mystic skills had all improved tremendously. Vaguely, the crystallization of every single cell in his body seemed to have become stronger. His internal space had also expanded, and he could store more powers. If one had to describe Xia Ping's current cultivation realm, it would probably be half a step into the archaic realm. While he had not fully comprehended the laws of the world, he had at least reached a sliver of the embryonic form of the world. If Xia Ping were to suddenly have such an opportunity to break through, then stepping into the archaic realm and condensing the laws of the world would only be a matter of time. This round of cultivation was not a waste after all. Xia Ping clenched his fists and felt the abundant power within his body. His current battle strength was at least a third stronger than before, and his powers were even denser than before. He felt a confidence that he had never felt before. Chapter 2762. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. At this moment, Xia Ping finally came out of seclusion. During this period of time, he had stabilized his cultivation base and gained a deeper understanding of the laws of creation. He even had a certain level of understanding of the laws of the world. One could say that his strength had increased immensely. It's time to come out of seclusion. I wonder what secrets are hidden in this abyss. Xiaoping stood up. He knew that the abyss was separated into the outer and inner forbidden grounds. Even demigod-level demons would not dare to step into the inner forbidden grounds, as it was extremely dangerous. The outer forbidden grounds were not as dangerous as the inner forbidden grounds. At the very least, if the demigod-level demons were careful and did not touch the forbidden grounds, they would not die. Therefore, the competition of the forbidden grounds was basically held in the outer forbidden ground. No demons would be so foolish as to enter the inner forbidden grounds. However, Xiaoping was different. He was here to find the secrets of the abyss. Naturally, he wanted to enter and see what was going on in this famous place. Of course, he would not casually send his real body in. As long as he sent his doppelganger in to investigate, he would not die even if he met with any danger. After all, he could condense his doppelganger back at any time. Whoosh! Xiaoping's body flashed, and he left the world of the classic of mountains and seas, returning to the abyss. Just then, Xiaoping sensed a series of intense void ripples in the distance. Such a battle was even more intense than the battle between the dozens of primordial demons previously. There seemed to be hundreds, or even thousands, of primordial fiendish demons fighting at the same time. It was an unprecedented battle to the death, and terrifying fluctuations of laws erupted from all directions. Interesting. To think that they are fighting so intensely. Could they be fighting for some treasure? Initially, Xiaoping had wanted to enter the inner forbidden grounds. However, he felt that it would not be too late to delay and watch the show. He might even be able to reap some benefits and be the fisherman. Whoosh! In an instant, Xiaoping's body flashed and he tore through the void. In an instant, he arrived at the place where the battle was taking place. At the same time, he concealed himself and seemed to blend into the void ripples. Even the surrounding primordial demons could not detect him. It was as though he was hiding in the depths of the dimension. He looked over and realized that the abyss demons seemed to have split into two sides in midair. There were more than 1,000 of them, and all of them were archaic realm beings. As for immemorial ancient realm beings, they didn't dare to join in at all. They simply fought with true flames, displaying a tyrannical world domain. Worlds collided, erupting with terrifying natural law fluctuations, destroying everything. I see. After listening for a few minutes, Xiaoping finally understood why this group of abyssal demons were fighting so fiercely. It was because a small group of primordial demons had come to this place. They were extremely lucky and found the place where a god had fallen. There was a large amount of god's blood flowing in this place. It had even formed a small lake. Due to the erosion of divine blood and divine power over a long period of time, the ground had formed a vein of divine stones. There were at least 100,000 divine stones excavated. Apart from that, they also found more than 10 pieces of divine artifact fragment. One could imagine how great the harvest was. Let alone a primordial fiendish demon, even a demigod fiendish demon would be envious at the sight of such treasures. They would want nothing more than to seize all the treasures inside and take them for themselves. However, at the start it was just a small group fighting. Later on, they called their friends and countless reinforcements came. In the end, it was a spectacular scene of thousands of primordial demons fighting. In reality, whoever could get their hands on this treasure would basically be the champion of the Abyss Grand Tournament. Therefore, be it for the treasures or for the victory of the Grand Tournament, they would definitely not give up here. Fight, fight. It's best if all of them die. Xiaoping rubbed his chin and was overjoyed. He had not expected to encounter something like this in this place. If both sides were to suffer heavy losses, he might be able to take the opportunity to reap all the benefits. Not only would he be able to obtain the corpses of the primordial demons, but he could also take the opportunity to snatch all the treasures that these primordial demons were fighting over. This was akin to eating up the one above and eating the one below. But at this moment, a strong natural law fluctuation came from afar. It was devastating, and it just so happened that it hit the void where Xia Ping was at. Boom! In the next second, Xia Ping's real body appeared from the depths of the void. He had not expected to be so unlucky to be hit by the aftermath of the battle between these abyssal demons. But actually, this was not something that was difficult to encounter. After all, the battle between thousands of primordial demons had almost destroyed the void within a radius of billions of kilometers. The battle fluctuations were everywhere, and there was almost no space to dodge. Therefore, it was very normal for this to affect Xia Ping. Flower Demon Austin? Instantly, some primordial demons noticed Xia Ping. After all, everyone present was primordial demons. This was an extremely intense battlefield, and Xia Ping was currently disguised as Austin, an immortal demon. Such an immortal demon appearing in front of so many primordial demons was like a little white rabbit suddenly appearing in front of thousands of ferocious tigers. How could this not attract attention? In an instant, all the primordial demons noticed Xia Ping, who had suddenly appeared. They could not be blamed. After all, in such an intense battle, their nerves were instantly tense, and they had to pay attention to every movement around them. Otherwise, if they were even slightly careless, they would probably die. Therefore, no matter what unexpected situation occurred, they would immediately pay attention to it. They would definitely not be careless. What's going on? Why would Austin appear in this place? A clear voice could not help but cry out. The one who had spoken was Moon Demon Monica, a top-tier beauty. Her beautiful eyes looked at Xia Ping in disbelief, as if she had never thought that Xia Ping would appear here. To be honest, Monica originally did not intend to participate in this abyssal forbidden ground competition, and her father, the Night Devil King, also forbade her to participate. However, after seeing so many ex-girlfriends of Austin, she immediately became angry and felt that she had to participate. Otherwise, during the competition, Austin would be snatched away by those shameless female demons, and her man would be snatched away. Therefore, she played some tricks and used the power of the Night Devil King to forcefully participate in this abyssal forbidden ground competition and sneaked in. This time, in order to find Xia Ping, she walked everywhere and inadvertently fell into this battlefield. Because of Moon Demon Monica's tyrannical strength, she even became one of the main forces of the battlefield and encountered most of the pressure. Many primordial demons joined forces and wanted to hammer Moon Demon Monica to death. Sogu website. Chapter 2763. It is indeed Austin. Moon Demon Monica was not the only one here. Thunder Demon Sha Munsa, White Bone Demon Jennifer, Nine-Headed Snake Demon and other female demons also appeared on the battlefield to fight against Monica. They also wanted to take the opportunity to kill Moon Demon Monica. After all, they already had a conflict in the square outside. They could settle it together in the Abyss Forbidden area. At the same time, they could determine the winner and the loser to get Austin. However, they did not expect that the Flower Devil Austin would actually appear in such a dangerous battlefield. No matter what, this was a dangerous place. If ordinary immortal demons approached this place, they would be instantly killed by the terrifying world wave. No demon dared to approach at all. However, Flower Demon Austin still dared to hide in the dark. In fact, his concealment ability was extraordinary as well. The other primordial fiendish demons couldn't discover his whereabouts at all. It was only an accidental fluctuation that caused the Flower Devil Austin to reveal himself. Haha, everyone, this is just a misunderstanding. I am just a passing demon. I have no intention of snatching any treasure. You guys continue fighting. I have something to do and will leave first. Xia Ping laughed heartily and yawned. He found an excuse and wanted to leave the battlefield quietly. Misunderstanding? Misunderstanding my ass. You are just an ant. How dare you interfere in the war of us primordial fiendish demons? Die immediately. An primordial fiendish demon roared with murderous intent. It had not liked Austin for a long time. He was just a pretty boy, but he had gained the love of so many powerful female demons. He must have enjoyed a lot of good fortune. As for it, it did not know how long it had pursued these goddesses. However, they did not even look at it. This made it very unbalanced, and it wanted to kill Austin. Now, it finally had the chance. In the Abyss Forbidden area, it was not guilty to kill any fiendish demon. It did not need to worry about anything. Therefore, without a second word, it made a prompt decision to immediately kill Xia Ping. "Gabriel, how dare you!" Seeing this, Moon Demon Monica roared with murderous intent. She immediately wanted to stop Austin. She could not watch Austin be killed by other primordial fiendish demons. However, before Monica could even take a single step, 3 to 4 primordial fiendish demons appeared in front of Monica. They had a tacit understanding and stopped Monica from moving. They didn't have any deep hatred with Xia Ping, but if they could kill Austin, Monica would suffer a serious blow. At that time, they would be able to defeat Moon Demon Monica. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thunder Devil Charmanza, White Bone Devil Jennifer, and Hydra Devil also wanted to stop them, but the other primordial demons had already expected this and stepped forward to stop these female demons. "Haha, foolish Austin. There's a way out for you, but you chose to barge into hell. No one can save you today. Go to hell." That primordial fiendish demon cackled cruelly as he struck out with his claw. The claw contained the terrifying power of the world laws, as though it could crush an entire world with a single strike. This was the full force of a primordial fiendish demon. Even primordial fiendish demons wouldn't dare to underestimate it and had to deal with it with all their might, let alone a mere undying realm fiendish demon. If this claw landed, Flower Devil Austin would definitely die. His entire body would be torn apart and he would die without a complete corpse. It's over. It's all over now. Moon Fiend Monica, Thunder Fiend Charmanza, White Bone Fiend Jennifer, Hydra Fiend and other female fiends were all pale. They seemed to have seen the tragic scene of Flower Fiend Austin being beaten to death by this primordial fiend demon. Dong! In an instant, this claw smashed down, causing the surrounding void to explode. All the power was repelled, and all of it was aimed at Xia Ping. However, at this moment, Xia Ping moved. He looked at the primordial fiendish demon in front of him indifferently. His eyes were incomparably calm as he pointed out with his finger. Bam! At this moment, the finger touched the gigantic black claw of the primordial demon gently. All of the power of the world was crushed into dust at this moment. It turned into nothingness and turned into dust. At this moment, all the energy in the surroundings seemed to have calmed down. However, Xia Ping was still standing where he was, unharmed. It was as though his finger was a giant pillar that could support the heavens, blocking the terrifying claw of the primordial fiendish demon with ease. Impossible? The primordial fiendish demon was stunned. He was completely dumbfounded. His mind was blank. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't imagine that this would happen. He was an primordial fiendish demon, a terrifying existence that was second only to demigod fiendish demons. It was an easy task for him to kill an undying realm fiendish demon without using much strength. When the claw landed, he could imagine the tragic state that Flower Devil Austin would be in. He would definitely be crushed by this claw. Even his soul would be torn apart, and he would let out an agonizing scream. However, the scene before him had completely overturned his imagination. To think that Flower Devil Austin would be unscathed and block his primordial fiendish claw with ease. What kind of joke was this? How could he accept such a ridiculous fact? What happened just now? How could this kid block Gabriel's primordial fiendish claw? I'm not sure. Everything happened too quickly. I couldn't see it clearly. I saw it clearly. That kid blocked Gabriel's primordial fiendish claw with a single finger. The problem is that this is too ridiculous. How could something like this happen? Yeah, I saw it too. However, I thought that my eyes must be playing tricks on me. I might have been hallucinating. That's right. He's just an undying realm fiendish demon. How could he block the attack of an primordial fiendish demon? Even if this kid were to ascend to the heavens, he shouldn't be able to do that. Here's the problem. He did it. What's going on? Many primordial fiendish demons were dumbfounded. They were even more dumbfounded than Gabriel, because they were spectators. However, they still couldn't figure out what was going on. Austin, Moon Demon Monica, Thunder Demon Charmanza, White Bone Demon Jennifer, Hydra Demon, and other female demons also widened their beautiful eyes. To be honest, they were more surprised than any other demon. After all, they thought that they should be very familiar with the flower demon Austin. However, this scene had completely overturned their imaginations and shattered their previous imaginations of the flower demon Austin. Generally speaking, Flower Devil Austin wasn't a gigolo, nor was he an immortal demon that relied on women. How could he suddenly become so strong that he could block an immemorial attack in an instant? Sogu reading URL. Chapter 2764. You rascal. The primordial fiendish demon stared at Xia Ping with a gloomy expression. It wasn't a fool. With just one touch, it could sense the terrifying power contained in Xia Ping's finger. It seemed to be all-encompassing and contained countless laws. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Lin Fan to block its primordial claw so easily. Moreover, this wasn't a power that an ordinary flower demon could display. I didn't want to be calculative with you. I didn't expect you to jump out so early to court death. Xia Ping looked at the primordial fiendish demon calmly. Initially, he wanted to sneak into the core region of the forbidden abyss silently. He didn't expect this group of fiendish demons to want to kill him. In that case, there was no need for him to be polite. At his level of strength and cultivation, there was no need for him to swallow his pride. What? The primordial fiendish demon's hair stood on end. At this moment, it felt a terrifying murderous aura erupting from flower demon Austin. It filled the void in all directions and seeped into every cell of its body. It was as though its bloodline and instincts were warning it that if it didn't escape, it would be dead. The problem was that this was just a small flower demon in front of it. It was impossible for it to be a match for an primordial fiendish demon like it. Why would its instincts have such a reaction? Before it could do anything, Xia Ping made his move. Even though he moved later, he arrived first and punched out. This punch contained the power of time and space of the four seasons. It constantly rotated and rotated as though it was the reincarnation of time and space. In the depths of the fist, there was a terrifying wheel of time and space that could destroy everything. Moreover, the speed of this punch exceeded the limits of time and space. It surpassed the speed of light. The primordial fiendish demon was less than a few meters away from Xia Ping. At such a close distance and such a fast speed, even a demigod fiendish demon couldn't dodge it. Dong! In the next second, the punch landed squarely on the abdomen of the primordial fiendish demon. The terrifying rotation of the four seasons and the power of reincarnation of time and space erupted from the body of the primordial fiendish demon. The primordial fiendish demon let out a shrill cry. It couldn't even resist for a second and was instantly blown up by the punch of reincarnation of time and space. Moreover, not only did it blow up its demon body, even its soul was crushed by the power of reincarnation of time and space. It was instantly turned into dust. This. You must be joking, right? One punch? Just one punch and he killed an immemorial fiendish demon? What kind of joke is this? Since when did flower demons become so powerful? Is flower demon Austin such a terrifying demon? It must be an illusion. What happened earlier must be an illusion. It's just a flower demon. How could it be so terrifying? All the primordial fiendish demons were dumbfounded. They were many times more shocked than before. After all, Flower Devil Austin had merely blocked the attack of a primordial fiendish demon. Although blocking an attack from a primordial demon wasn't an easy task, It wasn't impossible. For example, a special bloodline power, a trump card, or even an abyssal treasure. The problem was that blocking the attack of a primordial fiendish demon, killing it, or smashing it with a single punch were two completely different things. The difference was like heaven and earth. Some of them couldn't believe their eyes, as if they were getting to know this flower devil Austin for the first time. Since when did Austin have such strength? Did this happen recently? Thunder Demon Shamansa was also dumbfounded. Her beautiful eyes were full of confusion. To be honest, she hadn't seen Austin for a long time. In her impression, Austin was just an ordinary flower demon. Although he was handsome, he was still a pretty boy. She could only protect him. She only treated him as a pet that she was determined to get. However, this scene had completely shattered her worldview and shocked her to the point that she was about to explode. Did Austin have some fortuitous encounter during this period of time that gave him the strength to smash an primordial fiendish demon? White Bone Demon Jennifer also looked at Monica curiously. It was the same for the nine-headed snake demon. After all, it was Moon Demon Monica who was with Flower Devil Austin during this period of time. Moon Demon Monica must know more than them what had happened during this period of time. They thought that Flower Devil Austin had some fortuitous encounter after leaving them. That was why his strength became so terrifying. Otherwise, how could such a thing have happened? In fact, although it was rare in the Abyss world to have a fortuitous encounter, it was not unheard of. Some Abyss kings had obtained similar fortuitous encounters and obtained the strength of a demigod fiendish demon. It was probably the same for Flower Devil Austin. I don't know. He has never shown any strength in front of me. I thought he was just an immortal fiendish demon. Moon Demon Monica was also dumbfounded. She was at a loss and very confused. To be honest, she also wanted to ask these ex-girlfriends whether Austin had been hiding his strength and pretending to be an ordinary pretty boy. Only now did he really show it. Hee, it seems that Austin doesn't like you that much. You don't even know this kind of thing. What a loser. Thunder Demon Shamansa sneered and looked at Monica with contempt. Aren't you the same? What's the use of an ex-girlfriend who doesn't know anything? You even said that Austin likes you the most. That's pure wishful thinking. Moon Demon Monica gnashed her teeth. Interesting. I want to fight again. If I tear apart your face and disfigure you, let's see if Austin will still like an ugly woman like you. Thunder Demon Shamansa was full of killing intent. Your mouth stinks more than a latrine pit. Wait until I poison your mouth. Let's see if you still dare to speak carelessly. Also, if you want to fight, who's afraid of who? Moon Demon Monica sneered, not to be outdone. Damn, they are still fighting at this time. White Bone Demon Jennifer and Hydra Demon were speechless. These two women were fighting over a man without looking at the time. Damn, is this pretty boy so fierce? At this moment, an immemorial fiendish demon from Rock Demon City in the distance could not help but curse. He had known Flower Devil Austin for a period of time, but he had never seen this kid so terrifying. It's really this kid. It must be this guy who killed your son, six-armed lion demon Chapman. Another immemorial fiendish demon from Rock Demon City Demon Palace said. He looked at nine-armed lion demon Gentutin. At this moment, the immemorial fiendish demons from Rock Demon City had basically gathered together. After they entered the Forbidden Abyss, they used the Abyss Spirit Secret technique to communicate with each other and gathered together. It's this kid who did it. The problem is that I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Nine-armed lion demon Gentutin was a little confused. To be honest, he had always wanted to find Flower Devil Austin for revenge. He wanted to ask who killed his son. Seeing this scene, he felt that there was a 90% chance that Flower Devil Austin was the murderer who killed his son. The problem was that this kid's strength was a little too tyrannical. With one punch, he blew up an immemorial fiendish demon that was comparable to him. He destroyed the other party's spirit and soul, leaving nothing behind. This kid could easily blow up that immemorial fiendish demon. In other words, he could also easily blow up himself. He wanted revenge, but he did not want to die. Who could tell him when this little flower devil Austin became so terrifying? Was there still justice in the world? What exactly happened? Sogu website. Chapter 2765. Flower Demon Austin, you're quite capable. You actually pretended to be weak. No wonder you dared to participate in the grand competition of the Forbidden Abyss. But why did you hide your strength? An immemorial demon narrowed his eyes and stared at Xia Ping. Terrifying killing intent emanated from his body. What does this have to do with you? Do you think you have the right to say such things to me? Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the immemorial demon indifferently. Not answering? Since that's the case, I'll capture you and interrogate you. When the time comes, I'll see if you'll answer or not, and if you're really that stubborn. The immemorial demon was filled with killing intent. With your abilities? To be honest, I don't care about you. Xia Ping said indifferently. Don't care? What if I'm included? Will you care? Me. In an instant, hundreds of immemorial demons stood out at the same time. Terrifying killing intent erupted from their bodies, and they were all targeting Xia Ping. One by one, they stepped forward to provoke him, not concealing their malice and killing intent. The 9-armed lion demon Gentutin and the other immemorial demons also stood out. To be honest, they also wanted to take this opportunity to get rid of Flower Demon Austin. If they missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be a next time. Rumble, one after another, world domains came crashing down, covering the void in all directions. Layer upon layer, it was as if hundreds of worlds were stacked on top of each other, producing a terrifying power that distorted the void. It was shocking. This scene shocked every single primordial fiendish demon. After all, hundreds of immemorial demons fighting against one was unprecedented and unheard of. No immemorial realm sage could deal with so many sages of the same level. Without a doubt, if they really fought, it would definitely be a one-sided battle. There was no doubt about it. So what if you have more people? You think too highly of your own strength. Xia Ping's expression was very calm. He didn't care about these immemorial demons at all. You really won't shed a tear until you see your coffin. In that case, I'll let you know how the word death is written. Do it, capture this kid. If he dares to resist, kill him immediately. I'll make him die without a complete corpse. One of the primordial fiendish demons bellowed. As soon as he finished speaking, over 100 primordial fiendish demons attacked almost at the same time. They were well trained, and one world domain after another erupted from their bodies, crushing towards Xia Ping. It was as though hundreds of great worlds were smashing towards Xia Ping, erupting with destructive power. Vaguely, there were countless great worlds being destroyed in the depths of the void. Even a primordial fiendish demon would be reduced to dust if it was struck by this force. Oh no. Moon Fiend Monica and the other female fiendish demons had a drastic change in expression. They had never expected that this group of primordial fiendish demons would unite and join forces to deal with Flower Fiend Austin. This was simply unheard of. However, even if they wanted to lend a helping hand, it would be difficult for them to do so. After all, it was the joint attack of over 100 primordial fiendish demons. If they were to step in and block it, only death awaited them. It was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You've actually made such a big scene. It looks like I have no choice but to act. Since that's the case, I'll deal with you quickly. If the commotion is too big and the Abyss King is drawn over, I won't be able to play anymore. Xia Ping looked emotionlessly at the group of primordial fiendish demons. Won't be able to play anymore? When one of the primordial fiendish demons heard this, he immediately laughed. There are so many of us primordial fiendish demons joining forces to kill you. Do you think we're just playing with you? Wait, what's this? He had wanted to mock Xia Ping without restraint, but in the next second, his pupils constricted. He looked at Xia Ping in extreme horror and simply couldn't believe his eyes. Because at this moment a huge, ancient black and white clock had appeared above the kid's head. It seemed to have been born at some point in time, and it emitted an ancient, chaotic, sacred, forbidden, and other aura. It was as though this was a clock that was born at the moment of primal chaos, and it recorded the eternal history of the universe. This was the eternal clock. At this moment, the moment Xia Ping took out the eternal clock, a huge, terrifying, black and white, silent, and eternal space-time domain spread out. Such a space-time domain was black and white, and it seemed to corrode the space-time domain within a radius of hundreds of thousands of light-years in an instant. It completely solidified the colorful world, turning it into an eternal black and white world. And this was a world where time stopped. The hour hand stopped. It didn't move forward or backward. It just stopped in this 1 second. At this moment, the hundreds of primordial fiendish demons that had tried to kill Xia Ping were instantly frozen in time. They couldn't move their bodies, and even their thoughts stopped at this moment. It wasn't just these hundreds of primordial fiendish demons. The other hundreds of primordial fiendish demons that hadn't attacked, including Moon Fiend Monica and the other primordial fiendish demons, had their time frozen as well. Is this the power of a divine weapon? It's too invincible. Xia Ping was extremely emotional. To be honest, he rarely used the eternal clock to fight enemies, and this was the first time he had used it against so many primordial fiendish demons. However, after using it, he knew how terrifying the eternal clock was. It was an invincible ability that had instantly eroded the space-time laws of the universe, and froze the time of all the primordial fiendish demons. This was a power that surpassed the laws. Other than gods, only divine weapons could use it. It was no wonder that divine weapons were the Dharma treasures of the peak races. If there were such Dharma treasures, the other peak races wouldn't dare to casually use them. Otherwise, both sides would definitely suffer. And this was just like the era of Earth, where no one could casually use nuclear weapons. However, the amount of Dharma power needed is too great. Xia Ping sensed that after using the power of creation to activate the eternal clock, the Dharma power in his body was considered rich. It far exceeded that of the primordial sages, and he was probably comparable to a demigod sage. However, in just a second, he felt that the Dharma power in his body seemed to have been consumed by more than half. If this continued, all the Dharma power in his body would be completely drained by the eternal time. This was a trump card that could only be used at critical moments. Seal. In the next second, Xia Ping attacked again. He couldn't afford to waste so much time. Otherwise, taking out the eternal clock to deal with this group of primordial fiendish demons would be a waste of effort. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, he captured all the primordial fiendish demons and imprisoned them in the world of the classic of mountains and seas. At the same time, he used the 6 Dao sealing technique to completely seal the power of these primordial fiendish demons. Tick-tock, in the next second, the eternal clock's seconds started to move. In an instant, this world returned to its original state, and the originally frozen time also started to flow at this moment. However, all the primordial fiendish demons on the battlefield had disappeared. They had all been captured and sealed by Xia Ping. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 2766. Whoosh. Xia Ping waved his hand and immediately took back the divine artifact, the eternal clock. The pressure of the divine artifact disappeared all of a sudden, as if nothing had happened just now. At this moment, the thousands of primordial demons on the battlefield were captured, sealed, and imprisoned in the space of the classic of mountains and seas. Even according to the foundation of the Abyss world, losing thousands of primordial demons at once was definitely a heavy blow. If the other kings of the Abyss found out about this, they would definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. Unfortunately, this was the forbidden area of the Abyss. Even the kings of the Abyss could not act recklessly. Who knew how long it would take for them to thoroughly investigate this matter? Although using the eternal clock this time consumed a lot of Xiaoping's energy, it was still very worthwhile to seal so many primordial demons at once. After all, if he continued to delay, he did not know what would happen. Maybe it would attract more kings of the abyss. It was better to deal with these primordial demons at once. After this use, Xiaoping also became more familiar with the power of the eternal clock. The divine artifact is really amazing. With just one move, it actually killed thousands of primordial demons in seconds. This ability is simply unsolvable. Green Ox, who was next to him, was shocked when he saw this scene. To be honest, his former master was just an ancient saint. He was not a match for the primordial saints at all, let alone thousands of primordial demons at the same time. This was impossible. The divine artifact is indeed powerful, but it also needs to be activated. Only an ancient saint like Xiaoping, who has an incredible power of creation, can barely activate the divine artifact. If it were other saints, they would probably only be able to stare at it. Corinne said solemnly. Indeed. Green Ox could not help but nod. Even if a tyrannical divine artifact was obtained by an ordinary saint, with their strength, it was estimated that they would not be able to mobilize the slightest bit of the divine artifact's power. Even if they managed to mobilize it, they would not be able to exert much of its power. It would be better to use the divine artifact. Only a powerhouse who had reached the demigod level could mobilize a part of the divine artifact's power. Moreover, this eternal clock is probably not an ordinary divine artifact. Even among the many divine artifacts, it should be relatively powerful. That's why it has such amazing power. Corinne guessed. The eternal clock is indeed extraordinary. He agreed with this point very much. He had heard many legends about god artifacts, but he had never heard of a god artifact that could instantly freeze time and space for billions of light years. This was almost the limit of a god artifact's power. The eternal clock was probably one of the best divine artifacts. Crash! At this moment, Xiaoping waved his hand and immediately collected all the god stones, god blood, and god artifact fragments scattered on the ground, placing them into the world of the classic of mountains and seas. To think that there are so many divine stones and divine blood here. We've struck it rich this time. Xiaoping smiled slightly. With so many celestial stones on hand, he would probably be able to break through to the world level more than 10 times without any problems. It would be more than enough to support his enormous cultivation expenditure. Even though he had a lot of resources to support him, no one would complain about having more resources. Even if he didn't use these god's stones and god's blood, he could use them to exchange for other treasures. These god artifact fragments don't seem simple at all. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. Through his divine sense, he could tell that he had obtained a total of 50 to 60 god artifact fragments, and they seemed to be able to combine with each other. When he put them together, a chemical reaction actually occurred. It was as though the divine power and divine power within the god artifact fragments had reacted and were about to fuse together. They seemed to have transformed into golden energy that constantly wriggled and touched each other, attempting to fuse together. It was as though they were made of memory metal. No way. Can it be that this god artifact isn't actually dead? If I can find all of its fragments, I might be able to revive it? Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't help but think of this possibility. He subconsciously asked the system. The system sensed Xiaoping's thoughts and replied, "Host's guess is correct. God artifacts are very difficult to destroy. Even if they are shattered by external forces, as long as the core divinity within them is not destroyed, then with the passage of time and the assistance of a large number of resources, it is possible for them to recover and become a true God artifact. They all have the ability to repair themselves. In truth, this is the most basic characteristic of God artifacts: ageless power." "I see." Xiaoping nodded. No wonder he felt that God artifacts were extraordinary. In fact, God artifacts were already a special kind of ageless creature. Even if they were shattered, they would not die completely. There was still hope for revival. Interesting. This God artifact has a total of 81 fragments. I have now obtained 64 fragments, which means there are still 17 fragments scattered around. He rubbed his chin. To be honest, he kind of wanted to collect all of the God artifact fragments and see what kind of God artifact it was. Moreover, with one more God artifact, his foundation would also increase. The God artifact fragments can sense each other. If I use the power of these God artifact fragments, I might be able to find the God artifact fragments scattered around the forbidden abyss. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. Originally, if he were to search for the God artifact fragments alone, according to the size of the forbidden abyss, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. It would be impossible to find them. However, if these God artifact fragments could sense each other, then it would be different. He would be able to accurately know the specific location of the God artifact fragments scattered everywhere. Then let's give it a try. Thinking of this, Xia Ping used the golden crow of hell flames on his body and instantly seeped into the God artifact fragments, refining them completely. If it was an ordinary sage, it would be impossible to refine the God artifact fragments. God artifacts were not treasures that could be refined so easily. Even if they were ownerless, it was still impossible. One could only watch helplessly. However, Xia Ping, who had the demon god bloodline like the golden crow of hell, could easily refine God artifacts. This was a special ability that came with the bloodline itself. Sizzle, sizzle, in an instant, these God artifact fragments were invaded by the golden crow of hell flames. In an instant, the negative power and various resentments deep inside the fragments were completely burned away. They were completely refined and turned into smoke. In just a short while, these God artifact fragments were left with the purest energy. They were not eroded by the resentment power and the power of the abyss. They returned to their original state. At the same time, Xia Ping seeped his divine sense in and easily refined these God artifact fragments.